Chapter 1263. The two meet. However, when Duan approached the house where Zhilan and Huilan were locked up, the sound of people searching for intruders suddenly came. Duan's expression changed drastically, and she hurriedly ran away. Fortunately, she was very familiar with the Duan residence and knew where to hide. She quickly shook off the pursuers and hid. Then, she crawled into the fake mountain in the backyard of the second branch. She did not know what went wrong. She thought that she had been very careful along the way and should not have been discovered. She wondered if the old woman in charge regretted helping her and went to tell on her again. However, Duan knew that at this moment, she could only hide quietly and not make a sound, let alone be taken away. Otherwise, second uncle and second aunt would definitely not be negligent this time and would definitely let her and old Master Zhen get married. Fortunately, this courtyard belonged to the second branch. Those people would not come here to search. She was safe for the time being. When the search outside was not so strict, she would go somewhere else. Duan exhaled and sat on the ground, hugging her legs, feeling sad and regretful. As expected, she still couldn't do it. She couldn't even do such a small thing. Not only did she fail to save Zhilan and Huilan, she even lost herself. If Gu Yundong and the rest knew about it, they would probably not be willing to care about her anymore. She missed eldest brother so much. If eldest brother was around, how would second uncle and the others dare to treat her like this? Her parents had already left. She was so afraid that her brother had also left, leaving her alone. She could not protect the family business, or the servants around her, or even herself. The more Duan thought about it, the sadder she became. Her tears fell without warning. Just as she was about to wipe her face, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in her ear. Duan quickly held her breath and did not dare to move. However, the voice outside was getting closer and closer. It was her cousin, Duan. Young Master Do, where did you go? My father said that a thief has entered the residence. Be careful. The thief might harm you. It's better to go to the front hall first. Duan shrank her neck, afraid that her cousin would find her hiding place. Except, young Master Do. Duan had just furrowed her brows when someone suddenly came in from outside the rockery. She suddenly widened her eyes. The person who entered was also stunned for a moment. He did not expect there to be a maidservant crying with red eyes. However, Duan's voice soon sounded again. Young Master Do Fukong couldn't care less and quickly went in. He even said to Duan, please move inside. Duan was a little stunned, but she subconsciously moved inside. Fortunately, this rockery was big enough. Do Fukong had shrunk his entire body into it, and there was even a fist's distance between them. Duan did not even dare to make a sound as she tightened her grip on her legs. What's going on? Why is this person in here? Will he turn me in? Wait a minute, Duan called him young Master Do outside just now. Duan looked to the side. This person was indeed dressed in luxurious clothes and looked very noble. Could it be that the person in front of him was the young master of General Do's family that everyone had mentioned? Seeing that she was looking at him, Do Fukong hurriedly whispered, Shoo, don't make a sound. I won't tell anyone that you're slacking off here. Duan was wearing the clothes of a maidservant and was hiding here alone. Do Fukong naturally thought that she was a maidservant of the Duan family and might have suffered some grievance. Hearing this, Duan secretly heaved a sigh of relief, but she slowly turned her head and buried her face. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1264, Who's with Who? Outside, Duan's voice rang a few times before she left. She probably felt that Do Fukong was not here, and she did not think that the son of the dignified general would hide in the rockery, so she went elsewhere to look for him. Hearing the footsteps gradually fade away, Do Fukong heaved a sigh of relief and came out of the rockery. He was about to leave, but Duan was still inside with her head lowered. He paused and asked, "Aren't you going out?" Duan did not even say a word. She felt that Do Fukong and second uncle were in cahoots. Do Fukong was not in the mood to guess the behavior of a maidservant. He raised his eyebrows and left. He had hidden here to avoid Duan. He did not expect second master Duan and his wife to be so bold as to deliberately bring him here. Then, they found an excuse to leave and let Duan cultivate their relationship with him. Fortunately, when Do Fukong saw Duan coming from afar, he immediately fled. Now, he should settle the score with second master Duan. Did this guy really think that he would not lose his temper just because he was his savior? However, just as Do Fukong was about to walk out of the courtyard, he suddenly saw a few old women rushing past. There were even rustling voices. His ears were sharp, so he could hear very clearly. They were saying, "Eldest Miss had disguised herself as a maidservant and sneaked in. Hurry up and find her and hand her over to second madam." Do Fukong frowned. "Eldest Miss? Was it Duan Qian's sister? Didn't everybody say that she was worried about Duan Qian's safety and insisted on going to Qingyuan Prefecture to look for her brother? Why did she have to dress up as a maidservant and sneak in?" "Maidservant?" Do Fukong suddenly turned his head and looked in the direction of the rockery. Wasn't there a maidservant with strange behavior there? Do Fukong immediately turned around and returned to the courtyard before crawling back into the rockery. Duan's expression changed drastically. She originally wanted to wait for him to get further away before she went to another place to hide. She did not expect him to return so quickly. "You're the eldest daughter of the Duan family." Duan's eyes widened, and she suddenly knocked him to the ground, scrambling to climb over his body. Do Fukong snorted. He touched the back of his head with one hand and grabbed her with the other. "Wait, I won't harm you. Why are you running?" Without a word, Duan bit the back of his hand. Do Fukong gasped. How could this brat have such good teeth? He quickly switched to another hand and restrained her. "Calm down first. I'm not from the Duan mansion. My surname is Do. I know. You're in cahoots with my second uncle. Get lost." Duan gritted her teeth in hatred. She was really unlucky to have been caught by him. Do Fukong was speechless. Who was in cahoots with whom? He quickly realized that there must be some conflict between Duan and second uncle Duan, so he immediately explained, "I'm not in cahoots with anyone. I'm close to second uncle Duan because I'm on good terms with the Duan family. If your brother is still around, you'll also have some contact with him." When Duan heard him mention her brother, she was stunned for a moment and stopped trying to run away. Do Fukong heaved a sigh of relief. "Can you tell me now why you're like this? Didn't second master Duan say that you were worried about your brother? Didn't he send someone to escort you to Qingyuan Prefecture to look for him?" Bah! Duan was so angry that she spat at him. Second uncle was really shameless. So this was what he said to outsiders. She did not know if Do Fukong was telling the truth, but she directly exposed second uncle Duan's lie. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1265, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan's visit. Do Fukong listened quietly. Neither of them knew that Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong had already come looking for them. Second Master Duan was furious because Duan had barged in, but young Master Do was also here at this critical moment. He did not know where young Master Do was or if he would bump into Duan. This made him extremely angry, and he pointed at Nanny Duan and scolded her. "Do you still have a brain? Duan came in, but you didn't tell us in advance. You came over only after she was sent in. What's the use? I'm telling you, if you ruin my plan, it'll take your life. Nanny cowered and explained in a low voice, I was thinking that once eldest miss enters the residence, she won't be able to escape even if she has wings. It's just nice to catch a turtle in a jar. Shut up. Are you trying to show off now that you know 2 idioms? Catching a turtle in a jar. Where is the turtle? Second Master Duan was so angry that his hair was about to stand up. Second Aunt Duan quickly comforted him. All right. The most important thing now is to get someone to find her. We can't let that wretched girl Duan Wan and young Master Do run into each other. Duan Wan is so disappointing. How could she let young Master Do escape? Second Master Duan's forehead throbbed, and he was so angry that he could not speak. At this moment, a servant reported, Second Master, a man and a woman are outside. They want to see Master. A man and a woman. Who are they? Second Master Duan frowned and waved his hand. I'm not meeting them. The servant said, but they said that if Second Master Duan doesn't see them, they will go to the Do residence to seek General Do's opinion. Second Master Duan was stunned. Opinion about what? I don't know, but the man and woman are very young. The man's surname is Shao, and the woman's surname seems to be Gu. Shao. Gu. Second Master Duan suddenly thought of the scene of him being thrown out yesterday, and his expression changed on the spot. It's them. Master, who are they? Second Aunt Duan asked. Second Master Duan's face was ashen, and he gritted his teeth. What an adulterous couple. I didn't even settle the score with them, but they came knocking on my door. Let them in. Wait, forget it. Tell them to scram. Tell them that I don't have time now. I'll look for them personally another day. He was already in a terrible fix, so how could he have the time to meet 2 idle people? Yes. The servant quickly turned around and ran out. However, not long after, he ran back in a hurry, stumbling with a panicked expression. Second Master, they've broken in. What did you say? Second Master Duan was furious and stood up from his chair. What are you doing? Can't you even stop 2 people with so many people? The servant was about to cry. They're too powerful. We can't stop them at all. Moreover, most of the people in the residence have gone to look for young Master Do and the rest. Second Master Duan was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Call all the guards in the residence over and teach this adulterous couple a lesson. As soon as he finished speaking, a crisp voice came from outside the hall. Then let's see if your guards come faster or if he'll grind your bones and scatter your ashes first. Second Master Duan's eyes widened in shock as he watched them walk into the central room. Do you know that this is trespassing? I can report it to the authorities. Yundong sneered. Before reporting this to the authorities, Second Master Duan might as well explain this first. As soon as she finished speaking, Shao Wen, who was behind her, suddenly picked up someone and threw him in front of Second Master Duan. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1266, Give us an explanation. Bang. Everyone in the hall was so shocked that their eyelids twitched. Second Master Duan was stunned for a moment before looking at the person who had been thrown to the ground. That person's face was bruised and swollen, and his hair was in a mess. He was in a very sorry state, but Second Master Duan still recognized him from his slightly swollen face. His expression changed on the spot and he quickly looked away. Yundong looked at his guilty look and sneered. Second Master Duan, do you want to explain to us why there is such a sneaky person who has been following us and monitoring us since yesterday afternoon? Do you think that we have no power or influence here since we came from outside and you could deliberately figure out our route and then hurt us? You want to silence us. Nonsense. Second Master Duan suddenly raised his head and retorted sternly, I don't know what you're talking about at all. I don't know this person. I haven't even settled the score with you for hurting me yesterday. Today, I don't know where you found such a hooligan to frame me and even trespassed on private property. I think you're the ones who are lawless. So Second Master Duan doesn't know him. Alright, I won't stand on ceremony then. Yundong narrowed her eyes and laughed. Second Master Duan's face twitched violently. He saw Shao Qingyuan rubbing his wrist and coming forward to pull the person up from the ground. When that person saw him walking over, his face instantly turned pale. He couldn't care less and hurriedly shouted, Second Master, save me. Second Master, save me. They were too ruthless and will kill me. Second Master, on account of my loyalty to you, please save me. Second Master Duan's face was ashen, and he could not speak at all. Shao Qingyuan had already raised his hand. Seeing that there was no hope on Second Master's side, the person could only save himself and hurriedly shouted, I have evidence to prove that Second Master instructed me to follow you. I have evidence. Second Master Duan immediately glared at him fiercely. Shut up. You still want to frame me at a time like this? Then, he pointed at Shao Qingyuan and the others and said, I think you're here to cause trouble. Someone, take them down. The Duan family servants had already called for guards. Without a word, they pounced on Shao Qingyuan and the others. Shao Qingyuan sneered. In the next moment, he suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Second Master Duan's neck. Then let's see who moves faster. Second Master Duan instantly held his breath. You, Second Aunt Duan screamed from the side, Oh. What are you trying to do? You have to pay with your life for killing someone. Yundong shook her shoulders and looked at Second Master Duan again. Didn't I say it before? Let's see if your guards came in time or if we grind your bones and scatter your ashes faster. What are you trying to do? Second Master Duan did not dare to move. His neck was under Shao Qingyuan's hand, and he could feel the strength clearly. It was as if his neck would break into two if he was not careful. He was clearly in the Duan residence, but he was still threatened and held hostage by a few outsiders. Second Master Duan gritted his teeth in anger. Yundong said, We don't want to do anything. We just want to settle scores with you. You sent someone to monitor us and harm us. Shouldn't you give us an explanation for this? What explanation do you want? At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the door. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1267, Young Master Do is on Shao Qingyuan's side. When Second Master Duan saw the person who walked in, his face lit up and he hurriedly shouted, Young Master Do, save me. Do Fukong looked at Second Master Duan with a cold expression. When his gaze shifted to Shao Qingyuan, he was a little surprised. Shao Qingyuan, why are you here? Shao Qingyuan was also a little surprised that Do Fukong was present. He was silent for a moment before letting go of Second Master Duan. Second Master Duan's body relaxed and he hurriedly ran behind Do Fukong. He anxiously complained, Young Master Do, they trespassed on private property and even wanted to harm me. They are so lawless under General Do's jurisdiction. They should be locked up in jail. As he spoke, he shouted at the people behind him, Arrest them. Arrest them for me. Just as the Duan Manor's guards were about to step forward, Do Fukong suddenly raised his hand. Wait. Young Master Do. Second Master Duan was stunned. Do Fukong did not look at him. Instead, he asked Shao Qingyuan, what exactly is going on? Shao Qingyuan said, he got someone to follow us and harm us, so we came. Do Fukong was speechless. You came breaking into his house. You're not polite at all. Shouldn't you report this matter to the officials first? However, Shao Qingyuan's explanation was simple and easy to understand. Dou Fukong turned his head and frowned at Second Master Duan. Without waiting for Second Master Duan to explain, he said with a dark expression, "Second Master Duan, what do you mean? I told you yesterday that the provision store is not something you can touch. Shao Qingyuan is my friend. What do you think I'm doing?" "I don't." It seems that Second Master Duan has never taken my words to heart. Since you don't take me seriously, it's better to interact less in the future. Dou Fukong sighed, shook his head, and turned to leave. Second Master Duan instantly panicked and hurriedly pulled him back to explain, "No, young Master Dou, you've misunderstood. I didn't." He wanted to say that he wasn't the one who sent that person, but when he met Dou Fukang's gaze that could see through people's hearts and recalled how serious his words were just now, he instantly didn't dare to lie anymore. He could only admit, "Young Master Dou, I did send someone to follow them. But you can't blame me. You know how they treated me yesterday. I just wanted to find out who they were. I promise that I didn't intend to harm them." "Promise? Do you dare to swear then?" Dou Fukong frowned when he heard that. "No matter what, it's indeed your fault for sending people to follow them. But yesterday would we have thrown you out if you hadn't specially gone to our shop to cause trouble? In the end, you were the one who started the trouble first. You're a liar." Gu Yundong snorted. Second Master Duan was so angry that he almost fell backward. She actually said that he was a troublemaker? He looked at Dou Fukong and did not expect him to nod in agreement. What was going on with young Master Dou? He seemed to have been standing on that Shao's side all this time. He had said that Shao Qingyuan was his friend, but they clearly didn't know each other when they met yesterday. They had only known each other for a day. Could it be that a friend he had known for a day was more important than his life savior? Second Master Duan felt uncomfortable, but Dou Fukong pretended not to see it. He turned around and asked Shao Qingyuan, "Then what do you want Second Master Duan to do to make peace?" Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong looked at each other and said, "For your sake, we won't make things difficult for Second Master Duan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1268, Gu Yundong's request. Second Master Duan sneered in his heart. "You make it sound like you're very aloof." Shao Qingyuan said, "Actually, it's simple. As long as Second Master Duan apologizes to us, I guarantee that this won't happen again. Moreover, if you set up a banquet at home and treat us to a good meal, our grudge will be over." "Dou Fukong, do I have such a big face?" The corners of Second Master Duan's mouth twitched. "Treat you to a good meal? Where did this country bumpkin come from? Have you never eaten good food? Did you make such a big scene just to freeload? How is it? This condition isn't too much, is it?" Gu Yundong raised his eyebrows and looked at Second Master Duan. Dou Fukong nodded. "Indeed, it's not too much. What do you think, Second Master Duan?" "All right, on account of young Master Dou, I won't hold it against you for trespassing into my house." Second Master Duan waved his hand. Tomorrow, I'll set up the best banquet at home and invite you to come and try the most authentic dishes in Wanqing Prefecture. How about that?" "No." Unexpectedly, Gu Yundong refused immediately. "There's no need for tomorrow. Let's do it today, right now. Or is Second Master Duan going back on his word when young Master Dou is not around tomorrow?" "How can I go back on my word? I can also invite young Master Dou over tomorrow, can't I?" Gu Yundong sneered. "You make it sound so nice. Is young Master Dou free every day?" "Dou Fukong, I'm free tomorrow." Shao Qingyuan also nodded. Besides, we have other things to do tomorrow. I think there's no time like the present. Right now, I can have a good chat with young Master Do. Do Fukong narrowed his eyes and looked at the two of them. The two of them wanted to chat and catch up, but they still had to stick to second Master Duan's family. That wasn't too good, right? There was something wrong with these two people. Do Fukong also wanted to know what the two of them were up to, so he agreed with a serious expression. Alright, it's almost noon. I'll go back after lunch. How about I try the food in the residence? Second Master Duan had originally hoped that Do Fukong would reject him, but he did not expect him to actually agree. Unfortunately, there was still Duan Wan in his residence whose whereabouts were unknown, but these people could not be chased away. Second Master Duan suppressed the anger in his heart and could only turn around and order the servants to prepare the food. In that case, let's have lunch here. Shao Qingyuan and Do Fukong found seats and sat down. They really started chatting. Second Master Duan could only bite the bullet and agree. He was straightforward and apologized to Shao Qingyuan first before sitting at the side as if nothing had happened. As a woman, Yundong suddenly became idle. Second Master Duan got someone to bring Duan Wan over to entertain her and chat with her. Unfortunately, the two of them did not have anything in common. After a few words, Yundong stood up in frustration. It's too boring. I don't understand any of the poems and lyrics Miss Duan said. Why don't we do this? Since Miss Duan said that she has raised a few beautiful chrysanthemums, I'm very curious. Coincidentally, my mother likes to plant flowers when she has nothing to do. Miss Duan, if you don't mind, can you bring me to take a look? Duan Wan was speechless. I do mind. Second Master Duan also frowned. Yundong was surprised. What's wrong? They can't be seen. Or was Miss Duan lying to me just now? I know. Does Miss Duan think that I'm from the countryside and can be teased at will? Is this the sincerity of your Duan family? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1269, Young Master Do's reminder. Yundong looked like she was about to get angry. He instantly attracted everyone's attention in the central room. Shao Qingyuan immediately stood up and asked with a dark expression, what happened? Who bullied you? Them. Yundong started to complain angrily. She said with an aggrieved expression, they look down on me. They think that I'm just a country bumpkin who's not worthy of watching them plant flowers. Shao Qingyuan's gaze immediately landed on Duan Wan, who waved her hand repeatedly. No, I didn't mean that. She didn't say anything at all. Second Master Duan also said, that's right. How can our Wenner look down on you? Would she dare to look down on her? Do Fukong became thoughtful. In fact, when he heard Duan Wan's words, he already knew that Second Master Duan had lied to him. Duan Wan had said that she had been tricked by Second Aunt Duan to escape from the Duan residence. If she had not met benefactors on the way and brought her back, she might have met with misfortune long ago. Duan Wan tried her best to protect the privacy of the benefactors and did not reveal their names and identities. But who was Do Fukong? A rookie like Duan Wan was nothing in front of him. She had already unconsciously revealed some information during the conversation. For example, her benefactors were a couple. For example, her benefactors had just arrived at Wanqing Prefecture 2 days ago. For example, she did not want to implicate her benefactors again, so she ran back to the Duan residence. If this information was dissected separately, Do Fukong would indeed not associate it with Shao Qingyuan and Yundong. However, if they were combined, it would be very appropriate. Otherwise, how could it be explained that Shao Qingyuan and Yundong happened to appear in the Duan residence and caused such a huge commotion that only Second Master Duan had to treat them to a meal? Yundong even looked like she wanted to take a look around here. Therefore, they were actually here for Duan. Do Fukong originally wanted to bring Duan out, but Duan didn't trust him, so he could only give up. He came to look for Second Master Duan first, but he didn't expect to meet Shao Qingyuan and Yundong. Since they were going to save Duan, there was no reason for him not to help. Therefore, Do Fukong said, "Actually, I also feel that it's really boring for girls while us men are discuss things here. Why don't they go admire the flowers and the lake? If sister-in-law likes flowers so much, Miss Duan, why don't you bring her to take a look? By the way, didn't Second Master Duan say that the scenery in the backyard is good? You even brought me there previously, but I didn't see you return in a long time." Hearing this, Second Master Duan immediately felt guilty. He was afraid that Du Fukong would settle scores with him later, so he quickly winked at his daughter. Yes. Wenner, you can bring Madame Shao to the backyard to appreciate the flowers. However, don't go far. It's not good to delay for too long. It'll be time to eat later. Got it, father. Duan understood and nodded in agreement. In any case, the backyard of the second branch was very quiet, and there were people watching the courtyard door. Duan would definitely not appear there. Do Fukong waved his hand and said, "The backyard is indeed not bad, especially that rockery. It looks especially good." As he spoke, he winked meaningfully at Yundong at an angle that no one noticed. Yundong's expression turned serious. The rockery in the backyard. It seemed like there was something going on. Yundong snorted and raised her chin at Duan. "Lead the way. But let me make it clear first. I want to see those precious flowers. Don't make it seem like I don't know anything. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1270. The less knowledgeable Yundong Duan, whose back was facing her, could not help but purse her lips. "Do you know anything? How ignorant and embarrassing." Duan secretly heaved a sigh of relief. In front of Do Fukong, she naturally looked gentle and easy to talk to. She turned to Yundong and said with a smile, "Madam Shao, this way please. I will definitely bring you to see the most beautiful chrysanthemums in our residence." Yundong snorted and walked forward arrogantly. Tong Shuitao immediately followed. Duan clenched her fists and exhaled before she quickly followed. The backyard of the Duan family's second branch was a little smaller than the first branches, but with the Duan family's wealth, it was not that small. There were also flowers, water, trees, and pavilions. It was also beautifully tidied. Yundong sized her up as he looked. When she entered the backyard, Do Fukong's words flashed across her mind. The backyard, the rockery. Her gaze swept across a few fake mountains. Duan had already brought her to the greenhouse at the side. There were indeed many flowers cultivated inside. "This is the hang white chrysanthemum I told you about. The hang chrysanthemum, how chrysanthemum, chu chrysanthemum, and Huai chrysanthemum are the most famous. They are known as the four great chrysanthemums. The hang white chrysanthemum is also known as the thousand leaves jade vase. Its petals are as white as jade, and its stamen is as yellow as pure gold. It can be considered my favorite chrysanthemum." After leaving Do Fukong, Duan's expression changed and her attitude instantly became arrogant. She looked at Yundong with a condescending look. However, Yundong did not look at her and allowed her to be smug. She looked at the flowers in the greenhouse and asked, "Where's the peony? Why don't I see any peony flowers? Your family is so powerful. You must have the best peonies, right?" Duan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. "Peony flowers blossom in April or May. Where can they be found now?" She couldn't help but roll her eyes. This woman was indeed ignorant. She didn't even know the basics. Gu Yundong was enlightened. That's right. I forgot. Although she said that, she did not look ashamed at all. She looked up and gave Tong Shuitao a look. The latter lowered her head slightly. Seeing that Duan Wen's maidservant had not returned from pouring tea, she slowly retreated while Duan Wen and Gu Yundong were talking. After a while, she disappeared in front of the two of them. Gu Yundong continued to look at the flowers, like a person who knew nothing about flowers. Whenever she saw a pot of beautiful flowers, she would ask. It was probably because such a question hit Duan Wen's spot that she was very proud and felt very superior. It was as if she was a knowledgeable, elegant, and noble lady in front of Gu Yundong. It was just that Gu Yundong kept reaching out to touch the flowers, which made her very dissatisfied. She tried to stop Gu Yundong several times, but the woman did not listen. Duan Wen felt that no matter how rich Gu Yundong was, she could not hide her vulgar aura. Gu Yundong had actually been distracted. After looking at 3 or 4 pots of flowers, Tong Shuitao returned. However, her expression was not very good. She shook her head slightly at Gu Yundong. When Gu Yundong walked over, she whispered, "She's not here. I've searched all the rockeries in the backyard, but I didn't see Miss Duan." Not at the rockery. Gu Yundong frowned. It was unlikely that Do Fukong would lie to her. After thinking for a while, she instructed Tong Shuitao, "Go and look around this area, especially the places where people can hide." Yes. Gu Yundong continued to look at the flowers. After Duan Wen's maidservant brought tea over, she took a sip and sighed. It's boring to just drink tea. Do you have any pastries? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1271, Finding Duan Wan. Duan Wan felt that she had never seen such a shameless person. Previously, it was fine if her husband wanted to stay in the Duan mansion to freeload, but now she actually wanted to freeload on pastries. Was she planning to eat everything in the Duan manor? Duan Wan sneered, but Gu Yundong looked innocent. No. Then forget it. I think your hospitality is different from what I imagined. Yes, of course we have them. Duan Wan sneered. She was certain that Gu Yundong was deliberately making things difficult for them. It was obvious that she still hated her father, but she had to pretend to be magnanimous and easily let this matter go in front of Do Fukong. In the end, she started to make things difficult the moment she turned around, right? You want pastries, right? Duan Wan turned around and instructed her maidservant, "Go and get a few more pastries, especially the few that I like to eat. Let Madame Shao try them too." The maidservant received her mistress' gaze and understood. She bowed and went down again. Very good. After a while, Tong Shuitao also took the opportunity to go down. She followed Miss' instructions and searched around the area. Unexpectedly, she really found Duan Wan hiding in a small house not far away. It was Duan Wan who saw her first. She then came out of the basket. She froze for a moment. "Why are you here?" "Our young miss and young master are here to save you." Duan Wan instantly felt guilty. She had indeed caused trouble for others. Previously, she had indeed hidden in the rockery. However, after meeting Do Fukong, although they had talked a lot, Duan Wan still did not dare to trust him easily. Therefore, after Do Fukong left, she changed her hiding place. She thought that if Do Fukong betrayed her and told second uncle that she was hiding in the rockery, second uncle would definitely send people to look for her. If they didn't see her in the rockery, they would definitely think that she had escaped somewhere else. Therefore, Duan Wan continued to hide in this backyard. If Tong Shuitao knew what she was thinking, she would probably laugh at her for being naive. However, nothing else was important now. Just get down to business first. My time is limited, so we'll make a long story short. Miss and young master are both stalling for time outside. You know the terrain of the Duan manor. Do this later, Tong Shuitao explained the plan that Gu Yundong had given her in a low voice. Duan blinked. That's it. Yes, after you're done, hide at the back door. I'll take you out then. Duan swallowed and nodded after a while. I know. I can definitely do it. Okay, be careful. Also, don't trust anyone along the way, understand? Duan thought of how she was betrayed when she entered the Duan residence and her expression instantly became much more serious. She hurriedly nodded. Don't worry, I will pay attention. Tong Shuitao gave a few more instructions before leaving worriedly. When she returned to the greenhouse, Duan's maidservant happened to bring over some pastries. Tong Shuitao immediately went forward to help. When she walked to Gu Yundong's side, she nodded slightly. Gu Yundong knew that she had succeeded. As she ate the pastries contentedly, she continued to admire the flowers in the greenhouse. Duan sneered at the side. Just keep eating. You'll die from overeating. Unfortunately, Gu Yundong ate very slowly, as if saying, I'm a lady, so I should eat slowly. When she slowly finished eating 2 pieces, a scream suddenly came from outside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1272, Fire. Gu Yundong narrowed her eyes and slowly looked in the direction of the backyard door. Duan, on the other hand, was so shocked that she broke the chrysanthemum in her hand. Her heart immediately ached. She said to the maidservant angrily, Go and see what's going on. Don't they know that there are guests in the residence? Why are they making such a fuss? Yes, Mississippi. The maidservant quickly ran out. Not long after, she ran back with an anxious expression. Miss, bad news. The guest room in the east is on fire. Duan suddenly turned her head. What did you say? It's on fire. She hurriedly ran out of the greenhouse. Gu Yundong and Tong Shuitao looked at each other and quickly left the greenhouse. As soon as she walked out of the backyard, she saw the servants of the Duan residence running east with various fire-extinguishing tools in their hands. Gu Yundong turned her head and looked to the east. As expected, there were flames soaring into the sky and screams were endless. She followed Duan and walked forward. Halfway there, she happened to see Shao Qingyuan and the others who were also rushing over. Do Fukong looked meaningfully at Gu Yundong's face. She pretended not to see it and said anxiously, Why would there be a fire for no reason? This is too strange. The people in the residence should be fine, right? I'm not sure yet. Let's go take a look first. Okay. Then, the couple walked to the east guest room hand in hand. Second Master Duan was shouting anxiously, Hurry up and get water. Don't just stand there. The fire is getting bigger and bigger. The servants ran over one after another, carrying water, cotton, and brooms. The scene was very chaotic. Therefore, no one noticed when an outsider like Tong Shuitao disappeared. Do Fukong frowned as he looked at the fire. A moment later, he walked to Second Master Duan's side and asked, Is there anyone in the room? Second Master Duan wanted to say that how would he know if there was anyone? Even if there was, they were only servants in the residence. However, the person opposite him was Do Fukong. He could only suppress the anger in his heart and reply, No, this is a guest room. Usually, only the servants come over to clean up. Today, the servants went to look for. There shouldn't be anyone inside today. Do Fukong said, We can't continue like this. It's too chaotic. If the fire on this side is extinguished, the other side will immediately catch fire. Give the order to everyone to listen to my instructions so that the guest room next door won't catch fire. All right, all right, all right. Second Master Duan immediately got the servants to listen to Dou Fukang's instructions and extinguish the fire in an orderly manner. Dou Fukang should be experienced. Seeing that the fire was slowly subsiding, Second Master Duan finally heaved a sigh of relief. After calming down, he immediately realized that this fire had come too strangely. Although the area around the guest room was dry, it was not to the extent of starting a fire for no reason. Someone must have set it off. Duan Wan. It must be Duan Wan. Second Master Duan's pupils constricted. He quickly walked to Second Aunt Duan's side and whispered, "This fire might have been set by Duan Wan. She must have wanted to take this opportunity to leave the Duan residence with her 2 maidservants. Hurry up and bring people to take a look. Don't let them escape." Second Aunt Duan suddenly came back to her senses. "Okay, I understand. I'll go right away." With that, she left in a hurry with a few old women. Gu Yundong watched them leave and quickly retracted her gaze. She looked at the ruins in front of her and sighed. "I really didn't expect such a thing to happen. Second Master Duan, I deeply sympathize with your encounter. It seems that we won't be able to eat today. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1273, Rescue the corners of Second Master Duan's mouth twitched. "You're still thinking about eating at this juncture?" He smiled insincerely and said, "I didn't treat you well. I won't send you off." Gu Yundong nodded seriously. "Indeed, we weren't treated well." Then, she rolled her eyes and turned to leave with Shao Qingyuan. Second Master Duan was speechless. "Don't let me meet you again." Dou Fukang also wanted to leave, but given the situation in front of him, it would be a little suspicious if he left with them. He turned to look at the ruins in front of him and exhaled. Was it done by the eldest daughter of the Duan family? It was indeed Duan Wan who started the fire. It was just that she had listened to Gu Yundong's suggestion. After all, she was the eldest daughter of the Duan family and was very familiar with the structure of the Duan residence. People rarely used the guest rooms here. Even if she set a fire, she would not hurt anyone. As long as the fire was dealt with in time, it would not burn down the surrounding houses. Therefore, after she sneaked here, she even found some Tong oil and sprinkled it around before lighting a fire. While everyone was busy putting out the fire, she quickly ran to the house where Jilan and Huilan were locked up. Originally, there were old maids and guards outside the house, but because of Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan's commotion, the guards left. And because of the sound of the fire, one of the 2 old women also left. Duan Wan hit the other old woman's head with a stick when she wasn't paying attention and knocked her out before she flashed into the house. Jilan had already fainted from the fever. Huilan was still fine. Although she was also injured, she could still take care of Jilan. Huilan almost cried when she saw Duan Wan. Then, Duan Wan carefully supported Jilan and left the house with Huilan to the back door. Halfway through, Tong Shuitao came to pick them up. Duan Wan let out a sigh of relief. At the back door, Duan Wan saw that the 2 people guarding the door had fainted, so they hurriedly left the Duan mansion. A carriage was parked in an alley not far from the Duan residence. After Tong Shuitao helped them up, she returned to the Duan residence and quietly returned to Gu Yundong's side. Soon after, Gu Yundong and the others bade farewell and walked out of the Duan residence. It was not until they were out of the door that Gu Yundong asked, "Have you brought them out?" "Don't worry, Mississippi, I've brought them all out. They're in the carriage." As Tong Shuitao led them into the alley, she said, "I've also handed Miss Duan the fever medicine you gave me." As they spoke, the group of people had already walked to the front of the carriage. Hearing the commotion, Duan Wan lifted a corner of the curtain and looked out. When she saw that it was Gu Yundong, she was immediately delighted. Yundong. Gu Yundong and Tong Shuitao got into the carriage. Unexpectedly, as soon as they got in, Huilan, who was still awake, kowtowed to her 3 times. "Thank you, Mississippi. Thank you for saving our Mississippi." It seemed that Duan had already told her everything. Gu Yundong waved her hand. "Let's not talk about this for now. You're all injured. It's more important to treat your illnesses first." As they spoke, the carriage began to move. The carriage drove all the way to Gu Yundong's grocery store. Finally, they stopped at the back door of the provision store. Shao got out of the car and knocked. Uncle Yu hurriedly opened the door and was stunned to see them. It wasn't until he saw Tong Shuitao carrying an injured girl down that he suddenly understood and said softly, "Come in first. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1274, Gu Yundong's Praise. There were several rooms at the back of the provision store. Uncle Yu brought them to a clean and spacious room and made a bed for Zhilan to lie down. Looking at the 2 injured ladies, Uncle Yu asked, "Gu girl, do you want me to call a doctor over?" Gu Yundong thought for a moment and said, "Do you know a reliable and tight-lipped female doctor?" Shao Qingyuan was a doctor, but Zhilan and Huilan had been beaten. Their injuries needed to be treated with ointment, so it was naturally not appropriate for Shao Qingyuan to do it. It would be more convenient for a female doctor to do it. Uncle Yu really did not know any female doctor. There were only 3 men in the Yu family. Usually, if there was a headache or fever, they would go to the medical center to see a doctor. They really did not have any contact with female doctors. It was Shao Qingyuan who said, "Huimin Medical Center is not far from here. There should be a female doctor in their clinic." Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. "That's right. How could I have forgotten about the Huimin Medical Center?" The Huimin Medical Center here was opened last year, but as a major medical center with a chain across the country, there were usually female doctors in it. Gu Yundong and Huimin Medical Center were old acquaintances. She knew that this clinic had a good reputation and was reliable and trustworthy. Tong Shuitao immediately volunteered. "I'll go fetch one." She immediately ran out of the provision store. Duan turned to look at Zhilan and Huilan and wiped her tears. After a while, she looked up and said to Gu Yundong, "Yundong, thank you so much this time. I didn't want to trouble you, but I didn't expect to implicate you again. I'm sorry, I'm too useless." Gu Yundong did want to scold her. Why couldn't they discuss it together? However, seeing that her head was about to sink into the ground, she would probably become autistic if this continued. Moreover, it seemed that she was really repenting. There was no need to say anything serious. Gu Yundong gave her a sidelong glance. "It's good that you know your mistake. Don't be so impulsive next time. However, the fire you set was not bad. You personally brought your 2 maids out. No matter what, you completed the task alone. It wasn't easy. You have improved." Duan suddenly raised her head, and a trace of joy flashed across her face. Did I really do well? Yeah, it's pretty good. Everything was going well. Duan wiped her face. She had been praised many times in the past, but she had never been praised like this. Her entire body felt warm, and her heart felt like it was about to bloom. Gu Yundong actually praised her. Someone as capable as her actually praised her. Duan took a deep breath. She had grown up. Not long after, Tong Shuitao returned with a female doctor. Without a word, the female doctor examined the unconscious Zhilan. Xilan's injuries were actually not fatal, but there were several places with open wounds. Second Master Duan wanted to keep them alive to lure Duan out, so he didn't kill them. However, according to Huilan, the two of them were not treated after they were injured. Occasionally, there would be some leftovers to fill their stomachs. Fortunately, the weather had turned cold. Otherwise, their injuries would not be easy to treat. Yundong and the others were waiting outside. Uncle Yu and the other two also came over. They had seen Duan and knew who she was. However, the three of them did not ask further. They turned around and went to the kitchen to prepare lunch. It was only after lunch that the female doctor came out with a tired expression. After instructing her to rest well and prescribe medicine, she left. Yundong was about to enter the room to take a look when Do Fukong came over. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1275. Not the big picture again. As soon as he arrived, Do Fukong asked, "Where's the eldest daughter of the Duan family?" Yundong had already heard from Duan that she had met Do Fukong. Now that she heard him ask, she could not help but look at him sideways. "Why are you so concerned about her?" Do Fukong was speechless. "Because she is the eldest daughter of the Duan family." Yundong looked inside and said, "She's inside. Her two maidservants are injured." When Do Fukong heard that, he did not ask further. He came over to bring them a piece of news. Second Master Duan is searching the entire city for the arsonist. It said that someone sneaked into the Duan family and stole something. When he was captured by the Duan family, he was indignant, so he set a fire, causing several servants of the Duan family to be injured. He then escaped from the Duan family. Therefore, Second Master Duan reported it to the officials and is looking everywhere for them now. Shao Qingyuan raised his eyebrows. He dares to report it to the officials. He was clearly looking for Duan, but he still dared to make a big deal out of it. But thinking about it, so what if it blew up? As long as he found Duan, he could take her back to the residence. As for how to deal with her after returning to the residence, it was up to the Duan family behind closed doors. As for what Second Master Duan had done to Duan previously, there was no evidence. Even if Duan came out to accuse them, they would be able to find an excuse. There was nothing to be afraid of. Yundong could not help but roll her eyes. Second Master Duan was really angry this time. Do Fukong said, "Since the eldest daughter of the Duan family is staying here, it shouldn't be a big deal." "Your shop," he smiled. The officials seemed to have been taking good care of it. Yundong raised her eyebrows proudly. Of course, such a huge shop would attract a lot of attention. Even with Duan Qian as their backing, merchants could only bow their heads to the government. However, the entire provision store was only managed by the three members of the Yu family. They had no power or influence, so they would become a thorn in the side of others. It was only last time when Second Master Duan came to find trouble without knowing what was going on that he brought along General Do's young master, causing the officials to not come. If Second Master Duan found someone to come to her shop this time, she would not be polite. While they were talking, Duan came out of the room. When she saw Do Fukong, she was stunned for a moment. Her expression was no longer as vigilant as before. She nodded slightly. "Young Master Do." Do Fukong thought for a moment and said, "I want to talk to you alone. Is it convenient?" Duan nodded. "Sure." Do Fukong and Duan went to the room next door to talk. When the two of them came out again, it was already an hour later. It was unknown what they had talked about for so long. After saying that, Do Fukong left, but Duan was still sitting on the chair in a daze. Yundong stood beside her and asked, "What's wrong?" Duan suddenly came back to her senses and shook her head with a bitter smile. "Nothing. It was just that Do Fukong had analyzed the current situation with her and made her understand that at this moment, not only could she not take revenge on second uncle and second aunt, but she also had to help find those people who were originally loyal to eldest brother and make sure that they temporarily obey second uncle's orders. Duan felt very upset. She was just a young lady who did not know anything about the world. She did not want to care about the big picture at all and did not want to make second uncle and second aunt happy. She could not wait for those managers to find trouble with second uncle. However, the Duan family was her brother's hard work. Those managers could withstand the pressure for a while, but they could not withstand it for a lifetime. If they continued to go against second uncle, the consequences would be that they would all lose their jobs. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1276, Gu Yundong's Wei. Duan looked at Gu Yundong blankly. Yundong, if it were you, what would you do? Gu Yundong looked conflicted and constipated. After a while, she said, my method might not be suitable for you. Therefore, it's useless for you to ask. But Duan still wanted to know. Tell me. All right. Gu Yundong sighed. If it were me, I would kill second uncle and second aunt and take all the Duan family's assets into my own hands. Do Can's request is that the Duan family can't fall, so if I have the ability to support the Duan family, naturally, their worries will not exist. Duan, she was about to cry. As expected, this method was not suitable for her. She did not have the ability. She lowered her head and thought for a moment before saying, Then I can only put aside my personal grudges and ignore second uncle and second aunt for now. The most important thing is to support the Duan family. Actually, even if she wanted to take revenge on second uncle and second aunt, she could not do it. Gu Yundong shrugged. It's fine. Take it slow. It's not like they won't let you settle scores with them. When you have enough strength, you can still return the favor. Okay. Duan took a deep breath and felt much better. It was indeed useful to talk to Yundong. I'll wait for Jilan and Huilan to recover first. She had matured. As expected, in the following days. Second Master Duan was looking for people outside in full swing. Of course, there were also people who came to the Gu family's grocery store, but at most, they stood in front of the shop to take a look. They would not come to the backyard. Second Master Duan's goal was mostly those inns or rented houses. Unfortunately, there was no progress. As for Duan, with Do Fukang's help, she contacted the managers who were still on her side. She told them to conserve their strength and wait for her brother to come back, so that they could temporarily submit to Second Master Duan. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan chatted with the Yu family and learned about the situation in the shop for the past 2 years. Initially, she and Shao Qingyuan only planned to stay in Wanqing Prefecture for a few days before taking a boat to the capital. Now that Duan's matter had happened and Do Fukang and Shao Qingyuan had reunited after a long time, they were getting more and more compatible. They would not be able to leave anytime soon. However, Gu Yundong could not stay in Wanqing Prefecture forever. What if Duan Qian did not appear? Therefore, she was also planning to leave. During this period of time, Duan had been learning some business from her. She felt that she could no longer muddle through her days. Especially when she heard that there was the eldest daughter of the Nia family in the Xuanhe Prefecture and that even though her family pampered her, she still opened a milk tea shop with Gu Yundong. Duan was extremely envious. She also wanted to become such a person and help her brother in the future. She did not want to be completely helpless when something happened to her brother. Duan even wondered if she could work with Gu Yundong to open a shop or something. I have some money, but it's still in the residence. I can't take it out. When I take it out later, we can open a shop together. The milk tea shop you mentioned sounds interesting to me. Anyway, you want to open a branch in the capital. Then you can open one in Wanqing Prefecture, right? How about letting me invest in Wanqing Prefecture? Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. This idea did not seem impossible. Not to mention her, Madame Dai and Nie Shuang would definitely not be satisfied with just opening 2 shops. It was naturally more suitable to find locals to manage the shops in other prefectural cities. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1277. News about Duan Qian. In the few days that Gu Yundong had spent with Duan Wan, she had gained a new understanding of her. Although this person was naive in the past, Duan Wan was not completely ignorant about business. It seemed that she had also inherited her father and brother's business acumen. As long as she studied seriously, it would not be a problem for her to be a boss. I have to discuss this with Madame Dai and the others first. After all, I'm not the only one in charge of the milk tea shop. Duan Wan immediately nodded vigorously. Gu Yundong thought for a moment. And if you have time, you can also go to the Xuanhe prefecture after your eldest brother is found. You can see for yourself what the milk tea shop is like and how it operates. This way, the management of the milk tea shop will be clearer and more intuitive. Duan Wan said, to the Xuanhe prefecture. Gu Yundong suddenly realized that it was not easy for a woman to travel these days. Especially Duan Wan, who was from a wealthy family and was going to the faraway Xuanhe prefecture. Gu Yundong thought for a moment. Forget it. I'll find someone who used to work in the milk tea shop to come to Wanqing prefecture. However, this matter might take some time. I still have to go to the capital. If you really want to open a milk tea shop, you can find a suitable shop first. Duan Wan nodded repeatedly. However, although Gu Yundong said that she would find someone to come to Wanqing prefecture to help, the suggestion that she should go to the Xuanhe prefecture to experience it herself still rooted in the depths of her heart. Actually, she really wanted to take a look. That was because the milk tea shop that Gu Yundong described was really desirable. Unfortunately, it was just a thought. Duan Wan couldn't even go out of the grocery store. Jilan and Huilan were already much better. After the 2 of them got out of bed, they thanked Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan again and again. Not only did they thank the couple for saving their mistress, but they also thanked them for saving themselves. Seeing them getting better, the smile on Duan Wan's face finally increased. On the 7th day after Second Master Duan searched everywhere in the prefectural city for Duan Wan, Dou Fukong hurriedly ran to the backyard of the provision store. He could not hide the joy on his face. There's news about Duan Qian. Dou Fukong heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. There was really no choice. During the period of Duan Qian's disappearance, even though he had tried his best to help Second Master Duan, those managers had also obeyed Second Master Duan's decision. However, Second Master Duan always came up with bad ideas. No matter how capable his subordinates and helpers were, they could not stop a boss who was muddle-headed and did not know his limits. Dou Fukong had really had enough, especially since Second Master Duan was getting more and more overboard. He actually had the mood to think about giving Duan Wan to him even though he was managing such a huge business. Therefore, with news of Duan Qian, Dou Fukong was extremely excited. When Duan Wan heard this message, her eyes instantly turned red. She lost her composure and grabbed Dou Fukong's hand. Is there really news of my brother? He's still alive, right? Dou Fukong looked at her hand. Duan Wan was stunned and quickly let go. Dou Fukong coughed lightly with an unnatural expression on his face. After a moment, he said, yes, Duan Qian is still alive. Duan Wan could not help but cheer, and her body instantly relaxed. Huilan, who was behind her, hurriedly reached out to support her, lest she could not hold on and fell to the ground. Dou Fukong subconsciously reached out to pull her back, but he retracted his hand halfway. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan, who had heard the noise, rushed over and happened to see this scene. The 2 of them could not help but look at each other and raise their eyebrows. However, the news that Duan Qian was fine finally made them heave a sigh of relief. However, in the next moment, Dou Fukong frowned and said, "It's about Duan Qian. The news sent back is a little strange. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1278, Hopeless Heir, What's Strange? Duan Wan asked. Dou Fukong frowned and said in a low voice, "He was chased by someone and fell into the river. At that time, the guard with him searched along the river for 2 days but could not find him. We don't know where he was carried to. When our people found him, he was still unconscious." Later on, the guard asked Duan Qian's servant to return to the Duan residence to report. He originally wanted to see second master Duan quickly send someone to look for the eldest young master. Unexpectedly, second master Duan could not wait for Duan Qian to never return and die outside. The servant was not by Duan Qian's side when he disappeared, so he did not know the reason for his disappearance. The guard felt that something was amiss, so he did not tell him the details. It was only when General Dou's men ran to the Qingyuan prefecture and found the guard that they found out that Duan Qian was being hunted. Why was my brother chased in Qingyuan prefecture? Did he offend someone in Qingyuan prefecture? Duan Wan's heart skipped a beat when she heard the word chase. Dou Fukong said, "The strangest thing is that when Duan Qian went to the Qingyuan prefecture, he only discussed business with others and did not touch anyone's interests. The merchant who made a deal with him was also very satisfied with the cooperation plan Duan Qian gave him. He was the most anxious one when Duan Qian disappeared. That group of people seemed to have suddenly appeared, as if they had a deep hatred for Duan Qian." Shao Qingyuan asked, "Could it be an enemy from Wanqing prefecture?" "That's unlikely. Duan Qian's journey to the Qingyuan prefecture was very secretive. Even second master Duan didn't know. If not for that servant coming back to report, he probably wouldn't know that Duan Qian had actually gone so far. Moreover, if anyone wanted to kill Duan Qian, it's most suitable to do it on the way to the Qingyuan prefecture. There's no reason to let him reach the prefectural city safely before doing it." Duan Wan nodded. "That's right. My brother only told me about the trip to Qingyuan prefecture. He also told me not to tell anyone. I didn't even tell Zhilan or Huilan. In that case, there was indeed a problem. Who did Duan Qian offend to want him dead? Let's talk about this when Duan Qian comes back. Even if he doesn't know everything, he should have a clue." Yundong said, "Is he back now?" Dou Fukong nodded. "He's already on his way back. He'll arrive at the prefectural city in a few days." Duan Wan immediately clasped her hands together and murmured with her eyes closed, "Fortunately, eldest brother is still alive. He is still alive." These days, she had been on tenterhooks. Every night, she could not sleep. Once she fell asleep, she would have nightmares, afraid that she would never see her brother again. However, she could only stay in the backyard of the grocery store. Even if she wanted to leave the city and go to the temple to pray for Buddha's blessing, she could not. Now that she heard the good news, Duan Wan was sincerely grateful to the heavens and the Dou family. However, there was still a problem. Where will Duan Qian stay after he returns? Yundong asked. "According to you, he's still injured and needs to recuperate. It's not appropriate to send him back to the Duan residence. We have to find a place to settle down. We can't let second master Duan know." "Don't worry about that. Father and I have already discussed it. When the time comes, we will directly get the guards to escort him to the general's residence. There will be a doctor in the residence who can treat his injuries. After he recovers, he can decide whether to stay or leave." In short, the father and son of the Dou family could not wait for Duan Qian to recover and take over the Duan family as soon as possible. Second Master Duan was simply a hopeless heir. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1279. Siblings meet. Duan Qian's problem had already been solved, so everyone was relieved. They would just wait for him to return. In the next 5 days, Second Master Duan still did not give up on finding Duan Wan. However, there was no progress at all, making Second Master Duan even more irritable. On the 5th day, just after they had breakfast, the servants of the Dou family came knocking on their door with good news. Duan Qian was back. Duan Wan was so happy that she almost kicked her shoes over. She ran straight to the courtyard and asked anxiously, "He's really back. How is he? Is his body okay? Has he woken up?" The servant said in embarrassment, "Young master didn't say the details. He only asked me to inform you and let you go to the residence to take a look. Then, let's go." Duan Wan was about to walk out of the courtyard. After taking 2 steps, she suddenly came back to her senses. She slapped her head hard and hurriedly went to look for Gu Yundong. Gu Yundong heaved a sigh of relief when she heard the news. Originally, she did not intend to go to the Dou residence. She would just let Duan Wan and her brother have a good chat. However, the servants of the Dou mansion said that Dou Fukong had invited them to the Dou mansion as guests. She and Shao Qingyuan changed their clothes and got into the carriage from the back door. The group went straight to the Dou residence. Dou Fukong was already waiting for them there. General Dou was not around. He was very busy now. There were still some small tumors in Wanqing Prefecture that had not been cleaned up, so he almost never stayed at home. Therefore, Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong had been in the Wanqing Prefecture for a while, but they had not seen him. Dou Fukong brought them to the room where Duan Qian was placed. The doctor in the room was taking Duan Qian's pulse. Duan Qian was unconscious for the time being, but he was fine. Gu Yundong's gaze fell on Duan Qian. Perhaps because he had not had a good time recently, he looked very haggard. There were scars on his face and his lips were pale. He was a completely different person from the elegant young master Gu Yundong had seen last year. Gu Yundong sighed. Seeing that the doctor had come out, she went out with Shao Qingyuan. Only Duan Wan was left in the room, wiping her tears and grabbing Duan Qian's hand. The doctor told him about Duan Qian's situation. Fortunately, young Master Duan has some martial arts skills. When he fell into the river, he protected his key parts, so his life is not in danger. However, his internal injuries are quite serious and he needs to recuperate well. Duan Qian had already looked for a doctor before returning from Qingyuan Prefecture. However, after the journey, his wound had reopened. The doctor said a few more things to take note of before he prescribed medicine and left. When Gu Yundong and the other 2 returned to the room, they realized that Duan Qian had already woken up and was comforting Duan Wan, who was crying so hard that she was out of breath. Duan Wan did not want to cry, but she could not help it. Seeing this, Gu Yundong and the other 2 retreated from the room again and let the siblings talk. They talked until noon. When the servants of the Dou family brought in the food, Gu Yundong and the rest followed them in. Duan Qian had already heard from Duan Wan about what had happened these days, and his face darkened. However, when he saw Gu Yundong, he immediately calmed down and said gratefully, "It's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, my sister might not have been able to keep her life. Young Master Duan, you don't have to be so polite. No matter what, our provision store has been under your care. We can help each other." Duan Qian laughed. There was no need for him to take care of the Gu family's provision store. In the end, the siblings owed Gu Yundong a huge favor. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1280. It's also related to Shao Qingyuan. Forget it. When he recovered, he would slowly return the favor. There would always be a chance. Duan Qian looked at Dou Fukong again. Thank you for your kindness, young Master Dou. If you need me in the future, just let me know. Seeing that he was in good spirits, Dou Fukong did not waste any time and asked him directly, does young Master Duan know who was chasing you? Why were they chasing you? Duan Qian lowered his head and nodded after a moment of silence. I do. Their interest was piqued. Who? More than 10 years ago, a group of human traffickers roamed the nearby prefectural cities and abducted many children. At that time, the Duan family participated in this matter, causing the group of human traffickers to be arrested. The leader of that group was directly beheaded, and the gang dissipated. Unexpectedly, after more than 10 years, that leader's wife made a comeback and found the Duan family who was involved in the incident. Only then did she find an opportunity to attack me. As Duan Qian spoke, he sighed. I found out about this after I realized that someone was following me. I didn't expect to fall into someone else's trap carelessly before I left. I fell into a predicament and almost lost my life. After saying that, he looked up and saw that the people in front of him were stunned. What's wrong? Is it difficult to understand what he's saying? What's wrong with them? Dou Fukong was the first to react. You're saying that the people chasing after you this time are the same group of human traffickers from more than 10 years ago? Duan Qian was stunned. To be precise, they're not the same group of people. The leader of these people now is that guy's wife. Dou Fukong took a deep breath. He did not expect this to be the case. He grabbed Duan Qian's hand and smiled bitterly. In that case, we implicated you. What do you mean? Duan Qian looked confused. Gu Yundong pointed at Dou Fukong and Shao Qingyuan beside him and said, they were among the children who were abducted back then. Duan Qian was stunned, and even Duan Wan was in disbelief. Even she did not know about this. After a while, Duan Qian laughed. Was this fate? This was the only explanation. He did not expect two children who had been abducted back then to appear in front of him. One was General Dou's son, and the other was Gu Yundong's husband. As it turned out, they had saved him and Weiner. The ancients did not lie. Every cause had a consequence. Dou Fukong instantly felt a sense of familiarity. Shao Qingyuan also nodded slightly. However, very quickly, the topic became serious again. These human traffickers are really detestable. Don't worry, I'll get to the bottom of this matter. I also want to settle the score with them. Shao Qingyuan looked at Gu Yundong. Gu Yundong knew what he meant and immediately said with a smile, if you want to do it, do it. I will definitely support you. That incident back then had also hurt Shao Qingyuan. Who would have thought that these human traffickers would make a comeback and look for Duan Qian first? Who knew if they would find Dou Fukong and Shao Qingyuan? After all, the two of them were the first to escape back then, and Shao Qingyuan was directly sold by Boss Li and his wife. It was simply too easy to track Boss Li to find his whereabouts. Back then, Shao Qingyuan was still young and could only escape. But now, he had to fight back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1281, Gu Yundong is Ruthless. Not to mention Shao Qingyuan, even Gu Yundong herself hated this group of people. She would kill them if she could. It would be best if she could catch them all in one fell swoop. She did not want another son or daughter to inherit their career. Shao Qingyuan tightened his grip on her hand. Then the capital, there's no hurry. You know why we're going to the capital, so we'll naturally listen to you. Shao Qingyuan really wanted to reach out and hug her, but unfortunately, there were a few pairs of eyes glaring at him from the side. It ruined the atmosphere. He could only restrain his hands and smile happily. The others in the room were speechless. For some reason, they felt that this place was not suitable for them to be present. However, Shao Qingyuan had already retracted his thoughts and said, "In that case, when are we going to Qingyuan Prefecture?" He was talking to Dou Fukong. Duan Qian was going to stay here to recuperate, so only he and Dou Fukong would go. Dou Fukong was eager to give it a try. Just as he was about to say that they would set off the next day, he was stopped by Duan Qian. "Actually, there's no need to go to Qingyuan Prefecture. As long as the news that I'm still alive spreads, those people will immediately come to Wanqing Prefecture," he said. "Even if the news doesn't spread, they should come soon." Everyone in the room looked at each other. "You mean, that woman has gone crazy? In order to avenge her husband, she will do anything. This time, she attacked me. Perhaps she will attack the entire Duan family next." At this point, Duan Qian patted the back of Duan Wan's hand worriedly, as if he was afraid that something would happen to her. It said that 2 years ago, that woman had a subordinate called Master Qian. His methods were cruel as he specially searched for children from the Qingyuan Prefecture. That woman originally planned to let this Master Qian come to the Wanqing Prefecture to investigate the Duan family first before waiting for an opportunity to make a move. She didn't expect that Master Qian to be killed. Those people who were originally following Master Qian fled and hid for fear of being held accountable. Coincidentally, they encountered the chaos in the Qingyuan Prefecture. That woman suffered heavy losses, so she couldn't come to the Wanqing Prefecture to cause trouble for the Duan family. Now, they've been recuperating for 2 years and plan to make a comeback. Therefore, that woman had already set her sights on the Duan family 2 years ago. It was just that she was unlucky. Master Qian, who she had to use, was inexplicably killed, and thieves entered Qingyuan Prefecture. Only then did she give up. When Yundong heard this, her expression became strange. Master Qian. He specialized in abducting children in Qingyuan Prefecture. His methods were cruel. He was dead. After a moment of silence, she asked Duan Qian, "Is the Master Qian you're talking about a fierce-looking man in his 30s with a scar on his face and a particularly rough voice, called Qian-san?" Duan Qian was speechless. He did not know what Master Qian looked like, nor had he seen him before. However, he said, "I heard that it's indeed so. He was called Qian-san. Have you seen him before?" Yundong laughed dryly. She lowered her head and touched her nose. Dou Fukong suddenly seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Could it be that you killed Master Qian?" As far as he knew, Yundong had fled to the Shuanhe Prefecture, and Master Qian had died during the disaster. Yundong suddenly looked up and denied it with a serious expression. "How is that possible? Do I look like such a ruthless person? How can I casually kill someone? Aren't you a ruthless person?" Dou Fukong thought of the Qian family's decline. Duan Wan thought of the Duan family's burning guest room. Wasn't this ruthless? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1282, New Painting Method. Yundong firmly denied that Master Qian's death was caused by her, but she had to admit that after going around in circles, they seemed to have become enemies with this criminal gang. Shao Qingyuan said, "Since that Master Qian is dead, it's not important. Let's talk about that woman first. Duan Qian, how much do you know about her?" Duan Qian's expression turned serious as he told them everything he had investigated. Dou Fukong immediately took a piece of paper and recorded the important information. That woman's surname is Lin, but her husband's surname is Zhua, so she asked everyone to call her Mrs. Zhua. Mrs. Zhua is in her 40s, but she looks very young. 2 years ago, more than half of the Qingyuan Prefecture's prostitutes had business dealings with her. At that time, she was quite famous in the Qingyuan Prefecture's underworld and had some secret dealings with the officials. Later on, the Qingyuan prefecture was in chaos, and almost all the Qingyuan prefecture's prostitutes were destroyed. Many people escaped, but no one knows where they are. After that, the prefecture magistrate of the Qingyuan prefecture was replaced, and the person who took over was the emperor's trusted aide. His methods could be said to be swift and decisive. He didn't like people like Mrs. Zhua, so Mrs. Zhua didn't manage to get in touch with the government this time. This also caused her to not dare to rashly appear. She hid herself even deeper. She originally had two useful people by her side. One was Master Qian, who had helped her search for people on the surface. Now, he was dead. Later, she promoted another person, but he was not as good as Master Qian, so it was not easy to use him. There was also someone who did things in the dark. Mrs. Zhua called him Liangzi. He was someone who had followed Mrs. Zhua's husband more than 10 years ago and was very good at martial arts. This time, Duan Qian was knocked into the river by him and disappeared. I suspect that the person who found out that the Duan family was involved in the trafficking case more than 10 years ago is this Liangzi. In that case, Liangzi was the person they were most wary of. Yundong lowered her eyes and said, "You've seen Mrs. Zhua and these two useful people, right? Can you describe them?" "Yes." Duan Qian nodded. Dou Fukang was stunned and asked, "Are you going to draw their appearances?" "That's good. I've recently learned a new charcoal drawing method." "Duan Qian, tell me." "I'll draw and see." Yundong had wanted to draw it herself, but when she heard him say that, she did not move and stood at the back to watch. Dou Fukang got the servants to find a charcoal pencil and sat in front of the table, looking like he was ready for battle. Duan Qian told her what Mrs. Zhua looked like. "She's not tall, about 6 feet 6. Yundong touched her chin. According to the measurements of this dynasty, 6 feet 6 was about 1.55 meters. She likes to dress like a man. There's a hint of heroic spirit in her eyes. She's very thin, even thinner than my sister. Her eyebrows are long and have grown all the way here. Her nose is slightly straight, her phoenix eyes are a little white, and her mouth." Duan Qian spoke very carefully. Fortunately, he had a good memory and was a very observant person. Dou Fukang lowered his head and drew as he listened. After a while, he heaved a sigh of relief and handed the paper to Duan Qian. "Is this her?" Yundong took a look and felt that she was very ugly. Did Mrs. Zhua really look like this? Duan Qian looked at the painting. How should he put it? It was hard to explain. If her nose and eyes were all separated, he would have some impression of her, but they were all combined. What was this? Is it because I didn't describe it clearly, or is Dou Fukang's painting skills too poor? Duan Qian looked up and glanced at Dou Fukang. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1283, Second Master Duan is here again after all. He was a scholar who had read a lot of poetry and books. His painting skills should be good. Then. The description was too bad, right? Duan Qian opened his mouth, wanting to say it again. Unexpectedly, Yundong ruthlessly chased Dou Fukang to the side. "I'll do it." "You'll do it? Do you know how to draw?" Dou Fukang looked incredulous. This time, Yundong did not even need Duan Qian to describe the target. She had already memorized all the facial characteristics that she needed to memorize. Now, she could already begin. At first, Dou Fukang didn't think much of it. However, when he saw that her movements were becoming smoother and smoother, his expression finally gradually turned serious. By the time she drew her entire face, the shock in his eyes could not be hidden. Wait, didn't she escape here? How did she know this? Duan Qian propped himself up slightly and said in surprise, "Yes, that's right. It's her. This is Mrs. Sua. Duan exclaimed, Yundong, you're too amazing. Yundong smiled humbly. Thank you. After all, I have some talent in this area. You'll be fine after practicing more. The corners of Dou Fukang's mouth twitched. Don't be so humble. These words revealed a smug tone that deserved a beating. He pulled Shao Qingyuan and instructed him earnestly, brother, persuade sister-in-law not to say that next time. She's publicly slapping someone's face. If she meets such a narrow-minded person, she'll take revenge. Shao Qingyuan glanced at him. We know that you're open-minded. Most importantly, your drawing was too ugly. If Yundong wanted to help him, she naturally had to do it herself. Dou Fukang was speechless. What he said was very right. He felt strangely happy. Yundong had already started to ask about the other two people's appearances. She moved very quickly and soon finished 2 more paintings. There were also some small fries. Duan Qian had also said what he could say. If he couldn't remember, he could only give a rough description and forget about it. By the time Yundong was done, there were already a lot of papers on the table. Other than Shao Qingyuan, all 3 people in the room clicked their tongues as they held the portraits. She was indeed capable. Look at this painting. It was simply vivid. Dou Fukang quietly glanced at the portrait he had drawn. Finally, he couldn't help but slowly move over and reach out to destroy the painting. Unexpectedly, when he looked up, he saw that the 4 people in the room were all looking at him. Dou Fukang immediately coughed lightly and said, since the portraits are out, they'll get someone to wait at the city gate and see when they will enter the city. Coincidentally, my father has been making a big move recently. Even if the city gate is strictly checked, it won't attract any attention. Yes, let's watch over them after they enter the city. When everyone is here, we'll catch them all in one fell swoop, Shao Qingyuan said. Dou Fukang nodded. That's what I mean too. After saying that, he rolled up the portraits on the table. I'll go now. You guys chat first. After saying that, Dou Fukang was about to leave. Unexpectedly, he bumped into his servant the moment he stepped out of the door. His brow furrowed. What are you doing? Young master, second master Duan and his daughter are here again. The servant hurriedly took 2 steps back and replied respectfully. Before Dou Fukang could say anything, the expressions of Duan Qian and his sister in the room had already turned ugly. Second master Duan and his daughter still dared to come. Didn't I tell them that I've been very busy recently and don't have time to see them? Dou Fukang said irritably. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1284. You were clearly the one who saved her back then. Dou Fukang's only remaining patience was exhausted by this father-daughter duo. It was one thing for second master Duan to be muddle-headed all day and come up with bad ideas to cause trouble for him, but the brother of Duan would also send him an invitation to visit the Duan residence or he would visit the Dou residence. Dou Fukang was so angry that he wanted to laugh. This brother Duan was only 12 or 13 years old. They had nothing in common at all. What sort of visit? The first time, Dou Fukang did not reject him out of respect. Brother Duan had come to visit. However, he had actually brought Duan along. Wasn't everyone aware of his intentions? This was truly too improper. Fortunately, the women of the Dou family had yet to come to Wanqing Prefecture. Otherwise, Duan would probably have to personally send invitations. Ever since then, Dou Fukang had been avoiding second master Duan's family. He had rejected the Duan family's invitations a few times because he was busy. Now, they were probably anxious. Dou Fukang rubbed his temples and asked the servant to send them away. However, the servant looked troubled. Young Master, Second Master Duan happened to bump into Old Master returning to the residence when he came, so they came in together. The corners of Dou Fukang's mouth twitched. Duan Qian frowned and asked, "Did my second uncle find out about my return and specially came to visit?" Dou Fukang shook his head. "No, they are. He could not bring himself to say it. It was Duan Wan who whispered, "Big brother, Duan Wan has taken a fancy to young Master Dou. Second uncle wants to use the kindness from back then to make young Master Dou marry Duan Wan." Speaking of this, Dou Fukang's face turned ashen. Duan Qian was enlightened, but then he was a little puzzled. "My second uncle is also indebted to young Master Dou. It's about the kidnapping of young Master Dou more than 10 years ago. It was Duan Wan who reported it on behalf of young Master Dou. Second uncle helped to catch those human traffickers." Duan Wan had already figured out the ins and outs of the matter. She could only say that second uncle's luck was a little too good. For the sake of that matter, she reckoned that General Dou would still help them when her eldest brother dealt with her second uncle. Therefore, Duan Wan often secretly thought that if second uncle went overboard, he might be able to fall out with the Dou family. That way, everyone would be happy. Moreover, General Dou had already done his best to help second uncle and the others. More than 10 years ago, General Dou had also given second uncle a reward. Now that he had helped second uncle so much, he couldn't really ask young Master Dou to marry the girl, right? Duan Wan was unhappy and turned to look at her brother. Unexpectedly, Duan Qian also looked stunned. He asked in shock, "What did you say just now? You mean that Duan Wan was the one who reported the kidnapping more than 10 years ago?" Yes. "Why?" Duan Qian said, "But you were the one who reported it back then. Why did it become Duan Wan?" "What?" Not only Duan Wan, but even Dou Fukang was shocked. He suddenly turned around and returned to the room, grabbing Duan Qian's shoulder. Seeing Duan Qian moan, he remembered that he was still injured. He hurriedly let go and asked, "What did you say just now?" "The little girl I met back then who reported the news was eldest Miss Duan." Duan Qian nodded. "It's indeed Weiner." He looked at Duan Wan. "Don't you remember?" Duan Wan shook her head in a daze. "No, I don't remember." "Is that true?" She looked at Dou Fukang and then at Shao Qingyuan. "It's really me." Duan Qian frowned and nodded solemnly. "It's you. I was already 8 years old back then. I remember it clearly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1285. The truth. Back then Duan Wan swallowed her saliva. "So I was the one who saw young Master Dou being kidnapped back then and ran to tell second uncle that second uncle went to save him?" "Of course not." Duan Qian denied it. "Back then, after you returned, you found me directly. I brought you to father. Later, father immediately brought you to the small house where the children were locked up. However, there was no one in the house anymore. Father still had some ties with the prefecture magistrate of the prefecture city back then, so he went to report to the officials first." Duan Wan didn't remember what happened back then, but Duan Qian remembered it deeply. Father originally planned to let the government take over this matter after reporting it to the officials. However, father saw that we were young back then and could not help but pay more attention to this matter. He also promised that the money to find the children would be paid by him as a good deed. He didn't expect Uncle Luo's son to go missing in just a day. Father thought very highly of Uncle Luo. He suspected that that group of human traffickers also abducted Uncle Luo's son. Therefore, not only was the government looking for that group of people, father also sent many people to track them all the way to Qingyuan Prefecture. In the end, he found them in Qingyuan Prefecture. Coincidentally, second uncle was meeting friends in Qingyuan Prefecture during those days. Father wrote a letter and got someone to send it to second uncle at full speed. He asked second uncle to find father's friend for help before saving the children. The 4 people in the room were speechless. It turned out that this was the case. Therefore, when General Dou looked for his benefactor, it was second uncle Duan who showed up. Second uncle Duan had indeed helped, but he had actually played a negligible role. After General Dou thanked him and paid him, this favor was enough. However, this shameless person actually still considered himself a benefactor more than 10 years later and even dreamed of marrying Duan Wen to Dou Fukong. Gu Yundong suddenly narrowed her eyes. No wonder second uncle Duan was so eager to harm Duan Wan previously. He wanted to match her with that old Master Zhang and seized the time to matchmake Duan Wen and young Master Dou. He was afraid that he would not be able to gain any benefits after the matter fell apart. Dou Fukong also thought of it. He slammed the table hard. How despicable. Duan Wan was stunned. She glanced at Dou Fukong and thought about Gu Yundong's words. Could it be that second uncle was afraid that she would marry Dou Fukong? How was that possible? She pursed her lips and lowered her head slightly. After a moment, she asked softly, then, was Uncle Luo's son also abducted by those human traffickers? No, Uncle Luo's son was taken away by someone who had a grudge against him. Later on, it was father who helped find him. In order to save Uncle Luo's son, father was injured. Therefore, Uncle Luo was very loyal to father. Duan Wan was enlightened. No wonder he helped her without hesitation when she went to look for shopkeeper Luo. Uncle Luo was loyal not to the Duan family, but to her father, so he was loyal to her and her brother. Duan Qian sighed and looked at Dou Fukong. Young Master Dou, if you don't believe me, you can go to the government office to find the document from back then. It should be there. Dou Fukong looked at Duan Wan with a complicated gaze and stood up. I believe you. As he spoke, he bowed deeply to Duan Qian and Duan Wan. We were not cautious enough. No matter what, thank you for what happened back then. After saying that, he straightened up and said, you guys rest first. I'll go settle this matter before coming back. After Dou Fukong left, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan looked at each other. What should they do? They wanted to watch the show. Hence, the 2 of them tacitly exchanged glances and left. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1286, General Dou's impression of Shao Qingyuan. When Gu Yundong and Duan Wen reached the hall, they heard Duan Wen's sweet voice. Young Master Dou has a lot of work to do every day. It's been hard on you. This is the chicken soup I specially made. Young Master Dou, try it. Gu Yundong wanted to laugh. She leaned against the door frame behind her and stuck out her forehead a little. Shao Qingyuan stood behind her and pulled her slightly to prevent her from falling to the ground. However, not long after, she suddenly felt a sharp and cold gaze behind her. Shao Qingyuan's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly turned his head and met General Dou's sharp gaze. He instantly straightened Gu Yundong and turned around with her. He nodded slightly at General Dou. Lord Dou. His voice was a little low, so no one in the hall heard him. General Dou glanced at them and frowned slightly. There was a murderous aura on him. Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong were very sharp. They could even sense the smell of blood around him. Thinking of General Dou's actions in the prefectural city during this period of time, the 2 of them could not help but look serious. General Dou did not say anything. When he saw the 2 of them sneaking around just now, he was about to make things difficult for them on the spot. It was only when the butler beside him said that they were friends of Fukong that General Dou realized that the person who had escaped from the hands of the human traffickers with Fukong back then should be this person in front of him. Shao Qingyuan. General Dou knew more. The person in front of him should be the one who had caused a huge uproar in the capital at the beginning of the year and personally inoculated the prince. This was the first time General Dou had seen Shao Qingyuan. He was completely different from the kind-hearted doctor he had imagined. He was also worlds apart from the smart, cunning, and scheming Fukang. The Shao Qingyuan in front of him seemed to be the same kind of person as him. There was a ferocious aura around him, and he looked cold and unapproachable. He was a natural general. However, his eavesdropping just now felt a little like a villain. For a moment, General Dou looked at Shao Qingyuan with a complicated gaze. If there's anything you want to know, why don't you go in? There was really no need to listen outside. It was not something shameful. After General Dou finished speaking, he moved past the two of them and walked in. He was the one who brought Second Master Duan and the others in. Previously, he had only gone to change his clothes. Unexpectedly, just as he took a step forward, Dou Fukang's cold laughter suddenly came from inside. Second Master Duan, you should put away that little plan in your heart. It's not enough that you lied to my father more than 10 years ago. Now, you still want to continue treating the Dou family as fools. Do you really think our Dou family is easy to bully? General Dou paused for a moment before silently retracting his steps. The man lied to him. He frowned and looked at Shao Qingyuan. He did not say a word, but Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong could magically read the question in his eyes. Well, it's a long story. General Dou, then tell me slowly. We feel that it is more appropriate for young Master Dou to personally say this matter. General Dou, there's nothing unsuitable about it. As a man, you should tell the truth. Then on this side, General Dou, I'll leave this to Fukang. Follow me to the study. Then, General Dou turned around and left. Gu Yundong covered her face. What just happened? Did they have a conversation? Did they? Shao Qingyuan smiled and pulled her to follow General Dou. The butler, who was not far away, looked confused. What was going on? He did not seem to understand. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1287. Duan Wen ran away. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan silently followed General Dou to the study. However, although this was a long story, it was really concise when Shao Qingyuan described it. As soon as he entered the study, Shao Qingyuan said, the young lady who reported the case more than 10 years ago was eldest Miss Duan. The one who arranged everything and found someone to save her was the deceased Master Duan. Second Master Duan just happened to meet friends in Qingyuan Prefecture and clean up the aftermath before accepting Lord Dou's reward. General Dou, who was about to ask the servants to serve tea, was speechless. You're done. He glanced at Shao Qingyuan and lowered his head in silence. After a while, he said, young Master Duan is awake, right? Is there a problem if I go over now? This way, please. Hence, the three of them opened the door again and walked out. General Dou knew that Dou Fukang had brought Duan Qian home, but he had yet to meet him. Now that he knew that his father was the benefactor who had helped him a lot, and he had carelessly thanked the wrong person, General Dou felt a little uncomfortable. No wonder he heard Fukang's angry tone just now. It was obvious that he was furious. Even he had an extremely ugly expression on his face. His hands that hung by his sides were tightly clenched. Gu Yundong followed behind and touched her nose silently. She and Shao Qingyuan followed behind him without saying a word. Just as they were about to reach the courtyard where Duan Qian was recuperating, Gu Yundong suddenly paused. From the corner of her eye, she saw someone rushing over with an anxious expression. However, when that person saw General Dou's back, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and took 2 steps back hesitantly. Gu Yundong remembered that this person seemed to be the servant who had previously reported to Dou Fukang. What happened? She paused and whispered to Shao Qingyuan, "I'll go over and take a look. Accompany Lord Do to meet Duan Qian first. Be careful." Shao Qingyuan also saw the servant. Yeah. Gu Yundong took a few steps back. When she saw General Do enter the courtyard, she suddenly turned around and walked towards the servant. What's wrong? Did something happen? The servant hurriedly said, "Just now, young master wanted second master Duan and second Miss Duan to leave. Unexpectedly, just as we walked out of the hall, second Miss Duan suddenly ran away and said that she wanted to seek justice from General Do. We didn't pay attention for a moment, so, the corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. Was Duan went out of her mind? Who would seek General Do's help for the things that their family had done? Which way did she run?" The servant pointed to the left. Gu Yundong heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she was not going to Duan Qian's courtyard. Now was not the time for them to meet. "Let's go and take a look." The servant immediately led her to the left. Unexpectedly, after taking a few steps, someone suddenly rushed out. Gu Yundong took a closer look. "Oh, isn't this Duanwen?" Duanwen did not notice and ran over in a hurry. Just as she was about to bump into Gu Yundong, the latter moved to the side and Duanwen uncontrollably bumped into the servant. "Gu Yundong, I really didn't do it on purpose. It was an instinctive reaction." Duanwen and the servant were knocked to the ground at the same time. Just as Gu Yundong was hesitating about which one to pull, she heard a few dogs barking from behind. They sounded fierce. Duanwen, who was sitting on the ground, immediately screamed, "Dog, the dogs are here. Help." She sat on the ground and moved back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1288, Gu Yundong takes the blame. On the other hand, the servant had already stood up. He glanced at the two wolfhounds that had already run close and hurriedly scolded them. The two dogs immediately stopped obediently and stuck out their tongues. A servant ran over while panting and hurriedly pulled the leashes of the two dogs. He said, "This girl suddenly barged in and disturbed Wang Kai and Wang Zi. They thought that she was a thief and rushed out. I couldn't stop them." Wang Kai, Wang Zi. Who came up with those names? It seemed like their master had high expectations. The servant explained to Gu Yundong, "Wang Kai and Wang Zi is the Lord's wolfhounds. He usually stays in the backyard." This time, he glanced at Duanwen with dissatisfaction in his eyes. Wang Kai and Wang Zi were usually very obedient and often helped the Lord work. They were the treasures of the entire general's residence. However, when Duanwen saw the two dogs being restrained and pulled away, she instantly heaved a sigh of relief and stood up from the ground. Without the threat of the big dogs, her thumping heart finally calmed down. Then, she looked up and saw Gu Yundong. She immediately shouted, "Why are you here?" Gu Yundong was speechless. "So you only saw me now?" Duanwen frowned and looked at her, then at the servant who was rather respectful to her. However, she did not see Shao Qingyuan, and her expression changed on the spot. You're here alone. Is there a problem with me being here alone?" Gu Yundong looked puzzled. Duanwen's expression kept changing. It was unknown what she was thinking. After a moment, she came to a realization and pointed at her angrily. "It's you, right?" "Ha! What was wrong with her?" She hadn't asked the dog to go after her. "It's you. You want to seduce young Master Do. You're simply shameless. You already have a husband, yet you still came here. I'm curious why young Master Do would say those words. You were the one who sowed discord and destroyed the relationship between our Duan family and the Do family, right?" Gu Yundong was dumbfounded. What's wrong with you? Although she had thought that Duan Wen's imagination was quite impressive when she was in the Duan family, she did not expect it to be so impressive. Just because she did not have Shao Qingyuan by her side, just because she appeared in the Dou residence, this woman could determine that she had an affair with young Master Dou. Damn it, this woman was simply poisonous. However, seeing that she did not deny it, Duan Wen was even more certain that this was the truth. She immediately rushed over and swung her hand at Gu Yundong's face. You be *tch, I'll smash your face. Let's see who else you can seduce. The servant's expression changed drastically. He wanted to stop her, but it was too late. He had just stood far away and could only shout, "Be careful." Gu Yundong narrowed her eyes. After turning slightly to the side, she grabbed Duan Wen's hand and pulled it ruthlessly. Duan Wen screamed. Before she could react, Gu Yundong slapped her across the face. Then, she pushed her out. Duan Wen fell to the ground again. This time, she used a little too much strength, and her but instantly felt a burning pain. She also felt pain on her face, as if the bones in her wrist had been crushed. She cried out in pain, tears streaming down her face. Gu Yundong looked down at her condescendingly. Next time, if you don't keep your mouth clean, I don't mind using even more brutal methods to wash it for you. You know very well what shameful things you've done. If you want to push the blame to others, you have to see if I accept it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1289. Chased out at this moment, Second Master Duan and Dou Fukang also ran over with their men and happened to hear these words. Second Master Duan immediately ran to help Duan Wen up. He turned around and wanted to question Gu Yundong, but the servant beside him had already explained the matter in a few sentences. Second Master Duan's words were instantly stopped. However, Dou Fukang became even angrier when he heard this. He suddenly turned to look at Second Master Duan and his daughter. Initially, on account of our past friendship, I politely asked you to leave. I didn't expect you to be so unreasonable. You even threatened Mrs. Shao's reputation with your nonsense. Looks like I don't have to be polite to you anymore. Men, chase the two of them out. Yes. The servants immediately came forward and pulled the father and daughter out. They did not seem to be polite at all. Second Master Duan immediately panicked. Young Master Dou, we were wrong. I'll get Wenner to apologize to Mrs. Shao now. He pressed Duan Wen's head towards Gu Yundong, but Gu Yundong turned around and left. Dou Fukang waved his hand and the father and daughter were chased out of the Dou residence. There had always been people watching outside the Dou residence. After all, General Dou had been the center of discussion in the entire Wanqing prefecture these days. Therefore, as soon as the father and daughter were chased out, many people immediately saw them. The onlookers were immediately stunned. What happened? Isn't Second Master Duan very close to the Dou family? They were thrown out so rudely. Are these two families going to fall out? Didn't everybody say that young Master Dou is going to be engaged to Second Miss Duan? Serves him right. During this period of time, Second Master Duan has the Dou family backing him up. I don't know how proud he is. He thinks that he's superior to others and acts arrogantly. He's just a merchant without much ability. He really thinks of himself as young Master Dou's father-in-law. In that case, the Dou family is no longer Second Master Duan's backer. The Duan family's eldest young Master Duan is missing, and Second Master Duan no longer has the support of the Dou family. Wouldn't the Duan family be finished in the future? These words immediately made the expressions of the people beside him change slightly. Many people had already rushed back to tell their masters. Second Master Duan and Duan Wen originally wanted to plead for leniency and asked the concierge to let them in, but the surrounding pointed fingers were really unbearable. They could only bury their heads and leave in a hurry. Not long after, the news of second Master Duan and his daughter being chased out of the Dou family spread to more than half of the merchant families in the prefectural city. Many people cheered and secretly rejoiced. They secretly had designs on the Duan family. The Duan family's shopkeepers were even more worried. However, everyone was still watching. Who knew if the Duan family and the Dou family had really fallen out? What if it was just a misunderstanding? Once they took action, the Dou family might start supporting the Duan family again. Someone wanted to enter the Duan residence to inquire about the situation, but second Master Duan's family had been holed up in the residence ever since. When Gu Yundong returned, the Yu family had already heard the news. Eugene ran to her to ask. However, Gu Yundong laughed and looked mysterious. Don't worry. The Duan family won't fall into chaos in a few days. Let's just focus on our business and ignore the rumors outside. All right. With Gu Yundong's words, Eugene stopped paying attention. But later, Gu Yundong sent Jilan and Huilan to the Dou residence. Duan Qian was recuperating in the Dou residence, and Duan Wan was staying in the Dou residence. Jilan and Huilan could also help out in the Dou residence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1290, Appearance 3 days later, some restless people in the prefecture finally could not take it anymore. After discovering that second Master Duan did not have any dealings with the Dou family, they wanted to take action against the Duan family's business. However, no one expected that the business that was already full of loopholes because of second Master Duan would now be watertight, so they could not find any mistakes. The Duan family's shopkeepers, who had been in a panic a few days ago, had become energetic these few days. Everyone was puzzled. At that moment, Duan Qian finished reading the letter that shopkeeper Luo had sent and smiled slightly. Then, he asked Duan Wan to bring him a brush and paper and started a new round of arrangements. Now, when Duan Qian did these things again, he would no longer avoid Duan Wan. This incident had also taught him a deep lesson. He knew that he could not blindly protect his sister and dote on her. He was not powerful enough to protect her for the rest of his life. Only when he became stronger could he be fearless. He had seen this from Gu Yundong. Moreover, from what Duan Wan said, she wanted to try doing business herself, so Duan Qian had started to teach her some basic knowledge step by step. After writing the letter and sending it out, Duan Qian heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to continue teaching Duan Wan some business tactics, he saw Dou Fukang enter excitedly. As soon as he entered, he said in a low voice, "The soldiers guarding the city saw a man who looked like Liangzi enter the city." Duan Qian looked up. "Really?" "Yes, I'm just here to tell you that you haven't fully recovered yet, so it's not convenient for you to show your face. Rest well first. Don't worry, Qingyuan and I will definitely not let these people escape again." Although Duan Qian wanted to go out and help, he was indeed powerless. Moreover, if Liangzi saw that he was safe and sound, he would probably destroy Dou Fukang and the others' deployment. Therefore, he could only say with a serious expression, "Be careful." Dou Fukang nodded. After glancing at Duan Wan, he turned around and strode away. He went to the provision store and then came out with Shao Qingyuan to where Liangzi was now. It was an inconspicuous small courtyard in an alley not far from the Duan mansion. The courtyard was not big. According to the neighbors, this courtyard had just been bought not long ago. However, after buying it, no one had lived in it until today. Shao Qingyuan and Dou Fukang were sitting at a noodle stall not far from the courtyard. They ordered 2 bowls of soup noodles and chatted as they ate. "Are you sure he went in? Were the people you sent to follow him discovered?" Shao Qingyuan asked. "Yes, the taste of this noodles was not bad. He would bring a bowl back for his wife later. Don't worry, the person following him is my father's guard. He's good at tracking and investigation. It's overkill to let him follow Liangzi. Shao Qingyuan was relieved to hear that. Only Liangzi is here now. I wonder if Mrs. Sua and the others will come. Let's wait for 2 days. After eating the noodles, Shao Qingyuan ordered another bowl to go, put down the copper coins, and left. For the rest of the time, Dou Fukang sent people to keep an eye on the small courtyard. Liangzi had entered and left a few times. There were even a few times when he walked towards the Duan mansion. As expected, their target was the Duan mansion. On the third day, Dou Fukang received news that Mrs. Sua had also entered the city and was living in the small courtyard with her subordinates. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1291, Smashing the Duan family's shop. However, Mrs. Sua didn't act. She did not go out for 2 consecutive days after she arrived. This made Dou Fukang a little confused. He sat in the backyard of the provision store and looked at Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong. Do you think they're going to attack the Duan family? Most likely. Gu Yundong felt that it must be. Shao Qingyuan poured a cup of tea for Dou Fukang and said, I think it's very likely that Mrs. Sua is scared. Scared? Of whom? Your father, Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong said in unison. Dou Fukang wasn't stupid. With this reminder, he instantly came to a realization. You're saying that Mrs. Sua has also heard a lot of rumors these past few days that the Dou family is the Duan family's backer, making them worry. Even when I chased Second Master Duan and the others out of the Duan residence back then, it didn't dispel their wariness. They don't believe that we don't get along with the Duan family. Most likely. Then, what should we do? Although Dou Fukang really wanted his father to arrest Mrs. Sua and the others and throw them into jail, Mrs. Sua was a cautious person and didn't leave any evidence behind. Even his father couldn't arrest her for no reason. Knowing that they were going to make a move on the Duan family, Dou Fukang had been waiting. Although it was not good to use Second Master Duan as bait, this was the most suitable method at the moment. However, Mrs. Sua had to do something about it. Put on a show for them, Shao Qingyuan said. Dou Fukang's eyes lit up. Tell me about it. You'll get someone to destroy the Duan family's shop. Dou Fukang, are you serious? Do you have to be so cruel? He looked at Shao Qingyuan in disagreement. After a while, he suddenly stood up and walked out. I'll remind Duan Qian first. He also had to tell Duan Qian that this was Shao Qingyuan's idea and definitely not his. Unexpectedly, Duan Qian agreed. Thus, on the second day, something big happened in the Duan family's shop in the prefecture capital. A group of soldiers barged into the silk shop in the east of the city and threw the fabric in the shop to the ground. The shopkeeper wanted to stop them, but he did not expect to be immediately handcuffed and taken away. Shopkeeper Lin immediately exclaimed loudly, "What are you doing? Why are you arresting me? Why do you think? You know what you've done." The leader snorted. Shopkeeper Lin was stunned. He did not know what he had done. He struggled with all his might. You can't arrest me. Our boss is Second Master Duan. Second Master Duan and your young Master Dou are old acquaintances. Pfft. The soldier hit Shopkeeper Lin's head. Don't use the flag to harm our young master again. If you have the ability, let the person surnamed Duan come. Our young master can settle all the old and new scores with him. Let's see if he dares to walk out of the Duan manor and show his face. Shopkeeper Lin's face instantly turned pale. In that case, the rumors were true. Did Second Master Duan really fall out with young Master Dou? However, he was still indignant. Seeing that he was about to be taken away, he hurriedly turned to the shop assistant and said, "Hurry up and find Second Master Duan." go." The shop assistant lowered his head slightly and a glint flashed across his eyes. He responded and quickly ran out. The soldiers sneered disapprovingly and left with shopkeeper Lin. The two people at the back closed the shop and sealed it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1292, Killing Two Birds with One Stone. In the tea house opposite the silk shop, Yundong and Shao Qingyuan were eating melon seeds while watching the commotion. They glanced around and quickly found a few people turning around and running away. There were also two people who followed the shop assistant who had just left, as if they wanted to see if the shop assistant had really gone to the Duan family to look for Second Master Duan and if Second Master Duan would really save shopkeeper Lin. Yundong took a sip of tea before shaking her head and sighing. "This is killing two birds with one stone." "Yes." Shao Qingyuan nodded. He knew that Duan Qian would definitely agree to his suggestion. Shopkeeper Lin was the first person Duan Wan thought of to be trustworthy. Duan Qian had once saved his life. Unfortunately, this person was bewitched by beauty and had already turned to Second Master Duan's side. He even helped Second Master Duan do many things. Therefore, the first shop Duan Qian wanted to smash was the silk shop managed by shopkeeper Lin. On the other hand, the shop assistant was on Duan Qian's side. After this matter was over, the assistant's position could probably be promoted. Of course, besides this silk shop, the other two shops that Do Fukong had gotten someone to smash also belonged to Second Master Duan's men. This way, not only could he help Duan Qian get rid of these traitors, but he could also announce to everyone that the Do and Duan families had completely fallen out and the Duan family would no longer support Second Master Duan. As for Second Master Duan, he definitely did not dare to show his face. Sure enough, someone quickly ran back and announced it loudly. "You don't know this, but just now, an assistant from the silk shop ran to the Duan family and said that he wanted to look for Second Master Duan." The guard went in for a while before coming out. Then, he said that Second Master Duan is bedridden and can't get up now. He asked shopkeeper Lin to think of a way himself. Just now, the Duan family's shop in the south of the city was also destroyed. The shopkeeper was taken away. *CK, not only did young Master Do and the Duan family not become in-laws, but they even formed a deep hatred. The Duan family is doomed. What did Second Master Duan do to make the Do family so angry? Yes, what did Second Master Duan do? Even Second Master Duan himself could not understand it. He had lied to the Do family to take credit. However, at least he had contributed a little back then. Even if he did not contribute, he had worked hard. Even if they could not become in-laws, they still had friendship. Was there a need to be so ruthless? He did not cause any losses to the Do family. Moreover, it was eldest brother who helped them back then. The Duan family's shops were originally managed by eldest brother. Wasn't the Do family afraid that eldest brother would rest with remaining grievances underground if they were so ruthless? However, Second Master Duan did not dare to ask these questions. He did not even dare to step out of the house. Not only him, even Second Aunt Duan and Duan Wen did not dare to go out. The Duan family's shopkeepers were also trembling in fear, afraid that they would be the next person to be captured. However, when they went to the Duan family to ask for ideas, the Duan family refused to see them. Fortunately, after capturing 3 shopkeepers, those people stopped. Only then did everyone heave a sigh of relief. However, immediately after, those merchants who coveted the Duan family began to exert their strength. Even though Duan Qian was behind it and he could not show his face after all and his deterrence was much lower, the Duan family's shops more or less suffered some losses. Duan Qian didn't mind. He could still bear this loss. As long as he dealt with Mrs. Zhua and the others, he could still earn back the money with his ability. Fortunately, the news came soon. Mrs. Swa and the others couldn't wait any longer and started to take action. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1293. Duan Wen and her daughter are caught. Although the Duan family did not go out, it did not mean that the people outside could not enter. The Duan family claimed that they were sick, but they were not really bedridden. Duan Wen's temper had become exceptionally bad after she was slapped by Gu Yundong and chased out of the house by Do Fukong. Second Aunt Duan saw that her daughter couldn't just keep smashing stuff in the room all day, so she could only take her for a walk in the courtyard to take care of flowers and adjust her mood. Then, Duan Wen raised her favorite words until they were half dead. Duan Wen was so angry that she wanted to tear off the flower branches, but Second Aunt Duan stopped her. She originally wanted to ask the gardener in the residence to fix it, but she did not expect the gardener to be sick at this time. Therefore, she could only secretly call someone from outside to try to save the pots of flowers. Mrs. Swa entered the Duan mansion dressed as a gardener. Second Aunt Duan could not control what happened after that. In short, when she woke up, she and her daughter were already locked in a dark house. The surroundings were dark and terrifying. Second Aunt Duan quickly pushed Duan Wen awake and moved her tied hands. Her face was pale. When Duan Wen woke up and looked up, she happened to see a memorial tablet placed on the table in front of her. On it was written, "The spirit position of Zhuo Hong, the deceased husband." Ah! Duan Wen screamed and suddenly retreated, knocking Second Aunt Duan to the ground. Second Aunt Duan snorted in pain and quickly scolded, "Shut up." However, it was too late. The door was opened and a man with a sullen expression walked in. Their voices stopped abruptly, and they looked up at him with trepidation. "You, who are you? Why did you capture us? Do you want silver? How much do you want? I'll give it to you. Well, give it all to you. Let us go." Liangzi looked down at them from above. His indifference made them tremble with fear. He glanced at them and said, "Don't worry, I'll reunite your family. Before that, do you see the memorial tablet over there? Kowtow and admit your mistake. You owe him that." With that, Liangzi closed the door. The mother and daughter in the house immediately shouted, but it was useless. They were already outside the city. Other than this manor, there was no family here. Liangzi went out to see Mrs. Swa. Mrs. Swa took a few steps forward and asked, "How's Second Master Duan?" "On the way here." Liangzi hesitated for a moment before saying, "But the second young master of the Duan family went out and we couldn't catch him." Mrs. Swa frowned, but she soon relaxed. "Forget it. Let's reunite the family of 3 first. Second young master Duan will join them later." As she spoke, Mrs. Swa's eyes flashed with madness and bloodlust. Just wait. She would deal with the murderers who killed her husband one by one. So what if it was the Duan family? So what if they could do whatever they wanted in Wanqing Prefecture? In the end, wouldn't they still end up like this? Not only the Duan family, but also the people who had participated in it. She would take revenge. Unfortunately, the helper the Duan family had invited had already left the Qingyuan prefecture. Otherwise, she wouldn't have targeted the Duan family first. "Have you found Duan Wan yet?" Liangzi lowered his head and said with some self-blame, "It's said that she set fire to the Duan family previously and disappeared without a trace. No one knows her whereabouts. The Duan family searched for many days but couldn't find her." Mrs. Swa smirked. "She's good at hiding. Continue to send people to keep an eye on her. Find her even if she's hiding in a rat hole." "Yes, ma'am." As he spoke, the sound of wheels rolling could be heard from outside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1294. You Implicated Us. Liangzi opened the door and saw two people carrying a sack in. Second Master Duan was finally here. Liangzi led the two of them to the room where the Duan family's mother and daughter were imprisoned. The two people in the room had already lost their strength from shouting. At this moment, when they heard footsteps, they immediately shrank in a corner in fear and looked at Liangzi in horror. Liangzi waved his hand, and the two people carrying the sack behind him threw it to the ground. A familiar groan came from inside. The sack was untied, revealing Second Master Duan's bruised face. Second Aunt Duan screamed and quickly moved forward. Master, what's wrong? Why are you here too? Second Master Duan coughed twice. When he saw the mother and daughter, he could not help but widen his eyes. Why are you here too? Congratulations, Second Master Duan, on reuniting with your wife and daughter. A low female voice came from outside the door. The three people in the room looked up in unison and saw a short woman in men's clothes walk in. She was clearly smiling, but her eyes were ice-cold, looking especially frightening. The three members of the Duan family quickly huddled together. They looked at the woman in front of them in surprise and asked with a trembling voice, why did you capture us? Who sent you? Is it General Dou? Mrs. Shuo couldn't help but snicker. You think so highly of yourself. If General Dou wants to arrest you, why go through so much trouble? Then who are you? Mrs. Shuo straightened up and looked to the side. Her cold gaze softened instantly, and there seemed to be thousands of emotions in her eyes. The three members of the Duan family followed her gaze and saw a memorial tablet. Still looking at the tablet, Mrs. Shuo asked softly, do you remember him? Second Master Duan looked at the name carefully. The next moment, his expression changed drastically. He is, it seems that you do remember. Second Master Duan shook his head desperately. He originally did not remember this name. It was just that General Dou had recently appeared in the prefectural city. When he mentioned what happened back then, he recalled it again. Naturally, he also thought of the name of the leader of the human traffickers. The man's name was Hong, her deceased husband. So this woman, Second Master Duan suddenly gasped. You want to avenge him? You're finally smarter. Mrs. Shuo smiled. My late husband has been waiting underground for more than 10 years. He must be very happy to see me kill his enemy. Second Master Duan broke out in a cold sweat. He looked around and saw that everyone was on Mrs. Shuo's side. Knowing that it was hopeless for him to escape, he could only admit his mistake and beg for mercy. Mrs. Shuo, I was wrong. Please spare me. Please let us go. I can use other things to compensate you. How about silver? The Duan family has silver, and it'll give you half. No, it'll give you everything in the Duan family. It'll give you everything, okay? Please let us go. Please, Mrs. Shuo, we're innocent. Even if my husband did something wrong, what does it have to do with us? We don't know anything. We're innocent. When Second Master Duan heard this, his expression instantly changed. He pounced over and hit Second Aunt Duan. What are you saying? I wanted to use all the Duan family's assets to exchange for the lives of our family, but you can't wait to cut ties. Second Aunt Duan's hands were tied and she could not fight back. Duan Wen, who was at the side, bumped her head against Second Master Duan. Father, Mother is right. You implicated us. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1295, An Easier Death. Seeing the family of three biting each other, Mrs. Shuo lowered her head and chuckled. No wonder the Duan family fell into Duan Qian's hands. Duan Qian didn't even beg for mercy when he was chased by us to the point of jumping into the river. You guys, on the other hand, have internal strife before I even said what to do. He he he. Second Master Duan and the other two suddenly stopped. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said loudly, Yes, Duan Qian. What happened more than 10 years ago was done by my brother. It was Duan Qian's father who was investigating your husband. He was also the one who sent me a letter to find someone to save him. There's also young Master Do. Second Aunt Duan immediately shouted. At that time, young Master Do was kidnapped by your husband. He was the first to escape and even reported it to the officials. Your husband was sentenced to be beheaded because of the Do family. Duan Wen also shouted from the side, Yes, yes, yes. At that time, Duan Wen accidentally saw young Master Do. Young Master Do asked her for help, so she ran back to look for my uncle and asked him to report it to the officials. The family spoke at once, spitting out all the credit they had claimed. Mrs. Sua and Liangzi's expressions changed slightly, as if they hadn't expected this to be the truth. Previously, they had investigated the Duan family and knew that it was because of the Duan family's interference that her husband was caught and beheaded. Therefore, she hated the Duan family to the core and wanted everyone in the Duan family to die. However, she did not know that the person who had played a big role was actually Duan Wan, whom they had yet to find. Also, young Master Do, the Do family. Mrs. Sua's expression instantly turned ugly. She had already lost several people because of Duan Qian. If she went against the Do family, she would have no chance of winning at all. Liangzi quickly saw through her thoughts and immediately said softly, Madam, there's still a long way to go. We can deal with the Duan family first and then make plans about the Do family. Mrs. Suo closed her eyes and took a deep breath. That's right. She had endured it for so many years. She could just do it for a while longer. When she opened her eyes again, Mrs. Suo's gaze turned sharp. Second Master Duan and the other two were shocked when they saw this. It was over. She still did not intend to let them off. Mrs. Sua, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Although my brother and sister-in-law are dead, Duan Wan and young Master Do are still alive. Go find them and let us go. Mrs. Sua snickered. Let you go. You've seen what I look like and know our past. Do you think we'll let you go? That's ridiculous. As she spoke, she no longer paid attention to the three of them. She turned around and called out, Liangzi. Yes. Liangzi turned around and left. After a while, another man walked in with a porcelain bottle in his hand and handed it to Mrs. Sua. Mrs. Sua said, I don't want to dirty my hands, and I don't want my late husband to see you bleeding from your 7 orifices, lest you scare him. So, I've picked an easier way for you to die. She shook the bottle in her hand. I specially prepared this medicine for you. After taking it, your stomach will hurt unbearably. You will feel countless poisonous insects biting your bodies. There will be fire burning your skin and needles stabbing your fingers. After an hour of pain, you will stop breathing. But don't worry, you won't bleed from your 7 orifices. You will still be very clean when you die. How could this be called an easy death? After hearing this, the 3 members of the Duan family felt the world spin. Despair that they had never felt before surged in their hearts. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1296, A Step Too Late. Mrs. Suo walked up and pulled Second Aunt Duan over. Second Aunt Duan screamed, Ah, let go of me, let go, don't touch me. Mrs. Suo punched her in the stomach. Second Aunt Duan opened her mouth in pain. The next moment, a small black pill was stuffed into her mouth. Mrs. Suo put some force into it and she swallowed it. Second Master Duan and Duanwen gasped. They wanted to cry and curse loudly, but at this moment, when they looked at Second Aunt Duan who was lying on the ground and struggling in pain, their throats seemed to be blocked by someone and they could not make a sound. Mrs. Suo walked up to Duanwen. The latter's eyes widened in horror and tears streamed down her face. "No, don't kill me. Please, don't kill me." Mrs. Suo was expressionless. In order to prevent her from struggling, she punched her in the stomach and stuffed the medicine in when she wasn't paying attention. In the end, only Second Master Duan was left. Seeing that his daughter and wife had been poisoned, Second Master Duan's eyes turned red. He struggled to stand up and wanted to run out. The man next to Mrs. Suo kicked him and knocked him to the ground. Mrs. Suo walked up and stuffed the medicine into his mouth without saying anything else. Then, she kicked him hard and said to the person beside her, "Watch them. When they die, dig a pit in the backyard and bury them." "Yes." Mrs. Suo took out a handkerchief and wiped her hands before leaving the house. She looked up at the sunlight above her head and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Finally, she had taken half of her revenge. "Ha ha ha, husband, just wait and see. They'll be there to accompany you soon. Don't worry, I'll send all the people who killed you down. Don't be anxious. Wait a little longer." With that, she closed her eyes and exhaled in enjoyment. The next moment, she suddenly opened her eyes. However, at this moment, a light suddenly flashed across the corner of her eye, as if something had flown past. Mrs. Suo turned around and saw two figures jumping down from the wall. "Lin Junlan, you actually dared to barge into the Duan residence and kidnap Second Master Duan's family of 3. Now, you even killed them to silence them and committed a heinous crime. You're simply lawless. Don't even think about escaping today." After saying that, the two of them rushed over to Mrs. Suo. Mrs. Suo's face changed slightly and she stepped back. She retreated back into the house and moved the memorial tablet away from the table. She touched something, and a tunnel quickly appeared in front of her. Without another word, Mrs. Suo ran into the tunnel. However, as soon as she reached the bottom of the stairs, the tiles above her cracked and a crossbow bolt fell straight down. Mrs. Suo's pupils constricted and she stepped back, but she was still shot in the arm. The tablet in her arms fell to the ground with a thud. Blood welled up in Mrs. Suo's eyes and she reached out to pick it up. Yundong jumped down from the roof and landed on the table with a bang. Then, she reached out to grab Mrs. Suo. Mrs. Suo was actually quite skilled, especially since Yundong had caused her to drop her husband's tablet on the ground. She was extremely angry and moved a little faster. Yundong could not do anything to her for a moment. Fortunately, Do Fukang's experts quickly dealt with the miscellaneous soldiers outside. They pushed open the door and came in, working together to take Mrs. Suo down. Mrs. Suo closed her eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly, she smiled. "Unfortunately, you're a step too late. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1297. Still wanting retaliate against Yundong. As she spoke, Mrs. Suo looked at the 3 people on the ground. Do Fukang's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly instructed his subordinates, carry the 3 of them away first and find a doctor to treat them. Yes. Soon, someone hurriedly took the 3 Duan family members away. Mrs. Suo was still smiling. "What's the point of taking them away now? There's no antidote for my poison. Even if you want to make an antidote now, they won't be able to stay alive for that." Ha ha ha. Do Fukang's face was ashen. "Lin Junlan, now that the evidence of your murder is conclusive, what else is there to say?" "There's nothing to say. Dou Fukong frowned. Take her away. His subordinates immediately grabbed Mrs. Sua and left, including the rest of the people in the manor. They were all captured in one fell swoop. However, one person was missing. Mrs. Sua was relieved to see that he was not among them. She smiled as if nothing had happened to her. But when she was pressed into the carriage, she could not control herself. She glared fiercely at Gu Yundong. Just you wait. Gu Yundong put away the crossbow and looked at her. She smiled and said, wait for what? For you to take revenge on me. Do you think you still have a chance to come out after entering the prison? Do you think I can't get out? Young lady, you'll regret what you did today. With that, Mrs. Swo was pushed into the carriage. The carriage rode all the way to the prefectural city until it reached the prison. Mrs. was staggered when she was pushed into the cell, but she soon regained her balance and snorted. Then, she turned around and looked at the people who had grabbed her and treated her rudely. She looked like she wanted to remember everyone and not let anyone off in the future. Gu Yundong was extremely disgusted by her gaze. Thinking of how she and her dead husband had never done anything good and specialized in child trafficking, she wished she could beat her up. At the thought of this, she really did it. Dou Fukong was shocked. He pulled Gu Yundong, who was rolling up her sleeves and about to enter the cell, back. You, calm down. Now is not the time for you to make a move. Seeing that Gu Yundong was still dissatisfied, he said softly, don't worry, don't worry. There will be torture during the interrogation later. I promise to make her suffer. Of course, Dou Fukong hated this woman too. More than 10 years ago, he was also a victim. When he was locked up at that time, he had seen with his own eyes the scene of children trying to escape and being caught and beaten to death. Therefore, his senses were even clearer. He wished he could replay what those children had suffered on them. Dou Fukong felt that it was not too much to torture such people. However, even though her voice was low, Mrs. Swo still heard her. She smiled. Torture. Sure, I'll wait. Gu Yundong narrowed her eyes. Why are you so arrogant? Do you think you can get out of this prison? Do you think someone will save you? It's none of your business whether anyone saves me or not. Then is it his business? Another unfamiliar voice suddenly sounded from not far away. Gu Yundong and Dou Fukong were overjoyed and turned around. Mrs. Swo looked up too. Against the light, she couldn't see who it was. When she narrowed her eyes and wanted to see clearly again, someone was suddenly thrown at her feet. Mrs. Swo lowered her head involuntarily. When she saw who it was, her expression changed drastically. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1298, unable to escape her confident and disapproving expression just now completely collapsed at this moment. Mrs. Swo squatted down in shock and flipped the man over. When she saw him clearly, she gasped. Liangzi, you didn't escape. Liangzi panted and looked in Shao Qingyuan's direction. His voice was intermittent. There are a few of them. Hi, Shao Qingyuan stood beside Gu Yundong and looked down at Mrs. Swo. He said, are you counting on him to save you? I know that this subordinate of yours is good at digging holes, so you thought that at night, he could also dig into the prison to save you. Although this prison is not easy to break into, I broke his limbs just to be safe. Mrs. Swo's pupils constricted as she stared in disbelief at Liangzi, who couldn't get up at all. Gu Yundong smiled. Madam, are you still planning to take revenge on me? I'll wait for you. Dou Fukong laughed out loud and shot a look at the people behind him. Do it. The man immediately went forward with a bowl in his hand. The bowl was filled with water. One of them grabbed Mrs. Swo and the other poured the water into her mouth. Mrs. Swo was no match for them at all. No matter how hard she struggled, it was useless. She drank more than half a bowl of water. Not long after, she felt weak all over. Dou Fukong shrugged and said, I see that you're very confident. I'm afraid that you have more tricks up your sleeve, so I'll add another layer of protection. I'm very good to you, right? You, Mrs. Wu glared at them with bloodshot eyes. Unfortunately, Gu Yundong and the other two turned around and left. Liangzi was also dragged away and sent to the cell where the male prisoners were imprisoned. Mrs. Wu clung to the railing, but she didn't have much strength left. Soon, she fell to the ground again and could only shout at their backs, Come back! Come back! Gu Yundong and the other two turned a deaf ear. When they walked out of the cell, the three of them let out a sigh of relief. We've finally caught this malignant tumor. It's all thanks to your help today, Dou Fukong said. Shao Qingyuan shook his head and looked at the guards behind Dou Fukong. It's all thanks to Lord Dou. To be honest, even if the few of them joined forces and considered every possibility, the lack of manpower was the greatest disadvantage. General Dou was short of manpower, but he had given them a few capable guards. Otherwise, Shao Qingyuan would not have been able to pursue Liangzi so smoothly. This Liangzi was indeed very skilled. No wonder Duan Qian had suffered such a huge loss at his hands even with his guards. Moreover, Liangzi was good at digging holes. If not for the fact that he was not in Qingyuan Prefecture more than 10 years ago and that Zhuo Hong was beheaded not long after he was captured, the man would probably have been saved. I'll leave the interrogation to you, Shao Qingyuan said. Dou Fukong raised his eyebrows. Don't worry. Not many people can withstand my father's interrogation. His father should be almost done with the matters at hand, and could take the time to help interrogate them. He thought that they should be able to dig out a lot of things from these people. Right, he had to report the situation to the prefecture magistrate, who was originally in charge of capturing the human traffickers. It was only because this matter involved his family that the prefecture magistrate handed it over to Dou Fukong. After the matter was settled, he had to give an explanation. Gu Yundong nodded. All right, let's go and see Second Master Duan and the rest. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1299, Duan Qian and Second Master Duan meet. Hence, the two sides parted ways. Dou Fukong brought a few guards and hurried to the backyard of the government office. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan went to Huimin Medical Center. Second Master Duan and the rest were sent there. When they arrived at Huimin Medical Center, they saw Shaowen coming out. Shaowen heaved a sigh of relief when he saw them. How is it? Gu Yundong asked. Shaowen shrugged. It's fine. Young master's medicine only makes their stomachs hurt for a while. It's not fatal. It's just that they're still unconscious now. They'll be fine when they wake up later. They would probably be a little frightened. That's right. Mrs. Wa's lethal poison had been switched long ago. The poison she had fed Second Master Duan was developed by Shao Qingyuan. Although it looked the same on the outside, the effects were worlds apart. However, Shao Qingyuan was very curious about Mrs. Wa's poison. He was thinking about studying it when he was free to see what ingredients were in it, if it was really incurable, and if it would take an hour to kill the target as she said. As he pondered, he walked towards the backyard of Huimin Medical Center. Second Master Duan's family of 3 lay on the bed together, looking peaceful. Gu Yundong wanted to laugh. She did not have a good impression of the 3 Duan family members, but it was still up to Duan Qian to decide how they wanted to deal with this matter. Speak of the devil. Tong Shuitao brought Duan Qian and his sister over. Duan Qian had almost recovered, but today was the first time he had stepped out of the Dou residence. After all, Mrs. Zhua and the others had been caught, so there was no need for him to hide anymore. Upon seeing second uncle Duan and the other two, Duan Qian's eyes turned cold. He said to the servants of the Duan residence behind him, "Carry them home first." Yes. After the three of them were carried away, Duan Qian turned around and invited Shao Qingyuan and the others to the Duan residence as guests. Gu Yundong waved her hand. "You've just returned to the residence. There must be many things to deal with at home. Let's talk about it another day." Duan Qian thought about it and agreed. Second uncle had been torturing the Duan residence these days. It was time to reorganize it. Hence, he did not force her and brought Duan Wan into the carriage. Unexpectedly, just as he went up, second master Duan was jolted awake. The moment he opened his eyes, he suddenly met Duan Qian's cold eyes. He immediately gasped and was so shocked that he could not even speak. After a while, he muttered, "I'm indeed dead." Then his head lolled and he closed his eyes again. Duan Wan sneered. "So what if you're dead? My brother is still alive and well." Second Master Duan suddenly opened his eyes again. He looked at Duan Wan and then at Duan Qian, but the shock on his face intensified. Immediately after, Duan Qian's cold voice sounded in his ears. "Second uncle, don't faint again. When we go back, we have to settle our scores." "Ah!" Second Master Duan suddenly screamed. He wasn't dead. He really wasn't dead. Not only was he not dead, he was back. If Duan Qian was with Duan Wan, then all the things Second Master Duan had done would be known. No, wasn't he poisoned by Mrs. Zhua? What was going on now? Second Master Duan's mind was filled with messy thoughts. In the end, he couldn't take it and fainted again. Duan Qian, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan heard Second Master Duan scream from outside. They looked at each other, shrugged, and smiled. "We're almost done here. It's time for us to prepare to go to the capital." They couldn't wait. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1300, Gu Yundong's shock. However, on the third day after Mrs. Zhuo was arrested, Do Fukong came to them with a confession. After entering the backyard of the provision store, he immediately poured a glass of water for himself. "I told you that my father would definitely be able to pry open these people's mouths." He pointed at the paper on the table. This was all stated by Mrs. Zhuo's gang. "I really didn't expect there to be so many people. Although most of them are in Qingyuan Prefecture, there are also many in the other prefectural cities. Furthermore, they even accept those fiendish outlaws." Gu Yundong took the list from the table. There were indeed many names, gender, and age written densely on it. There were also some people whose addresses were marked at the back. "General Do is amazing. You dug out so much." "Of course." Do Fukong smiled. "You can't imagine my father's methods. Even a spy wouldn't have a good time in his hands, let alone this group of scumbags who only know how to bully the weak. Only Mrs. Zhua and that Liangzi have some backbone. At first, they refused to say anything, but it was useless when they met my father. They are afraid of death anyway and don't have the courage to commit suicide. Most of the information on this paper was revealed by them." Mrs. Zhua had been full of confidence just now because Liangzi would save her outside. Now that there was no hope and she could not withstand the pain, she had said what she should and should not say. According to his father, she had even told him some secrets from more than 10 years ago. Sure enough, pain could stimulate one's memory. Do Fukong expressed that he had learned it. "Your father is also avenging you. That was why he did his best." Gu Yundong's gaze was fixed on the list on the paper as she read it. Just as she was about to finish reading, her gaze suddenly froze and her fingers stopped. Beside her, Shao Qingyuan's expression changed slightly as he looked at one of the names in shock. Dou Fukong didn't notice their expressions and continued, "My father is indeed quite angry about what happened more than 10 years ago. During the investigation at that time, many children were killed by them. Therefore, when he tortured them, he was really ruthless. So, sister-in-law, you don't have to worry that Mrs. Zhua and the others weren't taught a good lesson. You should feel more or less satisfied." Do you think, halfway through his sentence, he realized that something was wrong with the two of them? Why did they not even blink when they stared at the paper? Dou Fukong waved his hand in front of them. "What's wrong with you two?" Yundong suddenly came back to her senses and looked at Shao Qingyuan in disbelief. "What's going on? Is there a problem with this list?" Yundong exhaled slowly and pointed at a name on it. "Was this person once in cahoots with Mrs. Zhua?" Dou Fukong tilted his head and looked over. "Li Fashing from Yongfu Village in Fengkai County." Fengkai County, Yongfu Village. Dou Fukong suddenly looked at them. "By the way, you guys are from Yongfu Village in Fengkai County. Then this person knows you guys. More than that." Yundong narrowed her eyes and reached out to hold Shao Qingyuan's hand. Her voice was low and filled with hatred. "This person is Shao's grandfather." "No, I shouldn't say grandpa. He was the one who carried brother Shao away when he was still young." Dou Fukong was stunned. "Qingyuan, weren't you originally from Yongfu Village? Taken away. So he wasn't a child born and raised in Yongfu Village. This Li Fashing. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1301, Old Li's Identity. Shao Qingyuan suddenly stood up. "Who did you get this name from? I want to know about Li Fashing. If Old Man Li was once a member of this gang, then it was possible that he had been carried away by this group of people. Perhaps he could find out the whereabouts of his biological family." However, even Shao Qingyuan did not expect Old Li to be a human trafficker previously, and he was even working with such a large gang. No wonder he was often not in Yongfu Village and always looked for work in the prefectural city. Shao Qingyuan thought of the scene when he was sold to the human traffickers by Boss Li and his wife when he was 8 years old. After he escaped, Old Li said that he had been looking for him, but he couldn't find him. Now that he thought about it, the man might have known long ago. Dou Fukong glanced at the paper and said, "I found out from Liangzi. Let's go, it'll bring you guys to take a look now." The three of them quickly left the grocery store and headed to the prison. Liangzi had been tortured yesterday. He was in a better state today, but he was still covered in injuries and looked very miserable. His limbs had already been reattached. According to Dou Fukong, Liangzi had requested it himself. He would only confess after his limbs were reattached. General Dou got someone to treat him. This gave Liangzi some hope and made him feel that he could escape, and that he did not have to risk his life to protect the secret. In the end, Liangzi really confessed a lot. However, the guards in this cell had been replaced by General Dou's men. If Liangzi wanted to escape, he had to see if they allowed it. Shao Qingyuan and the other two stood at the corner of the cell and looked at the huddled figure from afar. Dou Fukong said, "I'll get someone to ask. We can just listen here." Shao Qingyuan nodded. Yundong held his hand tightly and refused to let go. Soon, someone entered and walked to Liangzi's side. Liangzi heard the footsteps and raised his eyes slightly. He was still lying motionless on the straw. He only asked weakly, "Is there anything else you want to ask? Among the people you recruited previously, was there a person called Li Fashing from Yongfu Village?" Liangzi frowned and seemed to think for a long time before replying, "Did I mention him? I was stupid. This person quit a long time ago. Later, I heard that he was already dead. You don't have to catch him. Why didn't he quit? When did he quit? How could you allow him to leave?" Liangzi found it strange. Why are you so curious about Li Fashing? Just tell me. You don't have to know anything else. Liangzi secretly curled his lips and sneered. This time, he was silent for a long time, as if he was recalling what happened back then. After a long time, he slowly began to speak. Shao, Qingyuan and the others were standing not far away. They had sharp ears and eyes, so although Liangzi's voice was a little low, they could still hear him clearly. Li Fashing. I think he quit 20 years ago. As for why he was allowed to leave, Liangzi laughed. Because he walked this path with Boss Sua. When we first did this, it was just him and Boss Sua. He didn't want to do it anymore. As long as Boss Sua agreed, no one dared to stop him. Shao, Qingyuan and the others were stunned. Old Li was actually a leader. If Sua Hong had not died, he would already be in his 50s. In that case, Old Man Li was only a few years older than him. It was indeed possible for them to collaborate to commit a crime. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1302, Shao Qingyuan was stolen. Liangzi continued, it's a pity that although Li Fashing and Boss Sua did it together, he's not bold enough or smart enough. He's not popular. Therefore, after Sua Hong nurtured many people under him, Li Fashing's position became more and more awkward. Perhaps because he knew that he wouldn't get much benefits if he continued, and he might become more and more marginalized in the future, Li Fashing found an opportunity and left their group. Boss Sua was more or less concerned about their past friendship, so he did not stop them. The person who asked narrowed his eyes. What opportunity did Li Fashing find? Well, Liang was silent for a moment before saying, he stole a child and said that the child's family was his enemy. He wanted to raise the child and let him kill his biological parents. Shao, Qingyuan and the other two, who were standing in the corner, straightened their backs at the same time and held their breaths. Who is that child? Who are his biological parents? Liangzi finally raised his head and looked at the person who asked the question. He said, I don't know. I only know that the child was stolen from the capital. At that time, Li Fashing and I went to the capital together. That day happened to be the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. There was a lantern festival in the capital. There were people crowded on the street. Li Fashing and I wanted to take the opportunity to do something. He seemed to be recalling something and said slowly, at that time, the two of us were staring at the people coming and going on the street. Suddenly, we saw a young couple. When Li Fashing saw them, his gaze became very scary, as if he wanted to rush over and kill them. He was especially ferocious. I was shocked. Then, Li Fashing asked me for help. He said that he wanted the child in his wife's arms and asked me to help steal it. After all, he's only a farmer and only had brute force. Actually, I knew that he wanted me to kill that couple. How was that possible? Why would I kill two people who didn't look like people to be trifled with for him? Li Fashing also knew that it was impossible, so he made a deal with me to steal the child. Li Fashing promised me that as long as I gave him the child, he would give me all the treasures he had obtained in the past few years. I know he's rich, especially rich. He hid all his money in one place, but he was actually willing to give me such a large sum of money. It can be seen how much he hated this couple. The person who asked the question was silent for a moment before speaking again. Do you know what hatred Li Fashing had for that couple? Liangzi looked up at the top of the cell. I don't know. What's the status of that couple? Liangzi suddenly looked at him with a faint smile. You seem to be very curious about Li Fashing. Why? He's already dead. Could it be because of that child? Just say it. Why are there so many questions? Liangzi smiled. It was a little too much and pulled at the wound on his face. It hurts so much that he snorted before replying in a low voice, "I don't know the identity of that couple. After stealing the child, we didn't stay in the capital anymore. We directly left the city and ran far away." "You don't know the identity of the couple?" Gu Yundong frowned. Didn't that mean that there were still no clues? "Do you remember what the couple looked like?" Liangzi paused and narrowed his eyes as if he was thinking for a long time before saying, "What they looked like? It's been 20 years. How can I still remember what they looked like?" After a pause, he continued, "I just vaguely remember that the two of them were good-looking. They were a perfect match. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1303, Special Bracelet, What else? The person who asked the question frowned. This range was too wide. There were many good-looking couples in the world. What was the use of saying this? Also, Liangzi pondered for a moment. By the way, the wife was wearing a very special silver bracelet on her wrist. There's a leaf on one side of the bracelet and a small bead on the other. Coincidentally, the small bead could be pressed into the leaf with a light clasp. That child especially liked to grab this bracelet with his hand, so I have some impression. Gu Yundong, who was not far away, hurriedly asked someone to bring a brush and paper over. She drew the bracelet according to Liangzi's words. The bracelet was a little strange, but Gu Yundong still handed the drawing to the person who asked. Liangzi looked at the picture and then at the corner. He smiled. There seems to be something missing. He thought for a while and suddenly frowned. Oh right, there were 3 different colored tassels in the middle. The child must have seen that and went to catch it. Gu Yundong was speechless. She suspected that Liangzi was lying. However, she still drew the tassels on the original bracelet. This time, the bracelet was even stranger. This time, Liangzi nodded. That's about it. Gu Yundong looked at the drawing on the paper and exchanged glances with Shao Qingyuan. The guy had already asked enough questions and knew that they had met the couple on that street. Moreover, if what Liangzi said was true, that couple must have doted on Shao Qingyuan a lot. Gu Yundong was willing to believe that. The 3 of them walked out of the cell. Dou Fukong asked curiously, "Do you think what he said is true? Could he be lying to us? When you torture him again, just say that he lied and beat him up to see if he will change his confession," Shao Qingyuan suggested. Dou Fukong couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. How ruthless. It's fine. Compared to him, I'm already considered kind. Dou Fukong thought about it and felt that it made sense. With Liangzi's evil deeds, it wouldn't be too much to punish him a few times physically. Besides, compared to Liangzi, Shao Qingyuan was a victim. He had been stolen by Liangzi. After taking a few steps, Gu Yundong suddenly reminded Dou Fukong, "I see that Liangzi has been lying motionless on the straw pile. Is there something wrong?" Dou Fukong was stunned. "You suspect that he dug a hole down there?" He instantly stopped in his tracks. "I'll go back and take a look." Then, he hurriedly walked into the cell. After a while, he came out again with a relaxed smile on his face. He waved at Gu Yundong. "It's okay. He can't escape. But you're right. The guard said that he did dig a hole. However, digging a hole was useless. This cell was different from ordinary cells. You could not dig out at all." No wonder General Dou reattached Liangzi's limbs without hesitation. Gu Yundong stopped paying attention and went to a silver shop with Shao Qingyuan. He got someone to make a silver bracelet according to the blueprint. The boss of the silver shop asked them to come and collect it 2 days later. He guaranteed that it would be exactly the same as the drawing on the blueprint. Even if it was different, it could be changed. Only then did Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan leave. 2 days later, they obtained the silver bracelet from the silver shop. How should she put it? Although it was a little strange when drawn, it was fun after it was made. Yundong held the silver bracelet in her hand and turned to look at Qingyuan. The latter also looked at the bracelet, and something flickered in his eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1304, Liangzi is dead. Brother Shao, your mother must have doted on you. The bracelet was not pretty, but its color attracted the attention of children. Perhaps big brother Shao's mother had specially given him such a silver bracelet. Qingyuan's gaze was complicated. He took the bracelet and remained silent for a long time. After a long time, he said, "Let's set off for the capital tomorrow." Yundong's eyes lit up. This was the first time Qingyuan had taken the initiative to look for his parents. She felt that the confusion in his heart had disappeared. Yundong grabbed his hand and nodded heavily. "All right, we'll leave tomorrow. Let's go back first and buy a ship ticket at the docks." The two of them seemed to instantly be in a good mood. The gloominess in their hearts dissipated bit by bit, and even their footsteps became very light. They went to the docks to reserve a passenger ship. They had already talked to the person in charge here beforehand. Moreover, they had come with Do Fukong at that time and asked about the price, the time to leave the ship, and some things to take note of. Now that they had come again, it was not so troublesome. They quickly decided on the time to come to the docks tomorrow and paid the deposit on the spot. The person in charge knew that they were related to young Master Do, so he did not dare to cheat them. In addition, the two of them were generous and rewarded them with silver. Therefore, he added a few more words to remind them to prepare the medicine and food for seasickness. Before Yundong and the rest left, he even gave her a simple map of the river that he had drawn. On it, he marked where the ship would pass, when it would dock, and how long it would be suitable for resupply. It was extremely thoughtful. Yundong went back and began to prepare. Then, she heard a piece of news not long after. Liangzi is dead. It was obvious that that person had a strong desire to live. Why did he suddenly die? Qingyuan nodded. He was poisoned to death. Yundong could not understand. Under General Do's watch, could anyone sneak in and poison the beam? Unless, Qingyuan said, it was the prison head who poisoned him. The prison head's son was kidnapped by Liangzi and the others many years ago and was later killed. When the prison head heard Liangzi's confession, he had hatred in his heart. Now that General Do was almost done with the torture, Liangzi no longer had any useful value. When he was delivering food to Liangzi, he poisoned the food and personally avenged his son. Yundong sighed when he heard this. This was probably what it meant to commit evil and bring about self-destruction. What about Mrs. Zhua? Mrs. Zhua is in the women's prison. The prison head can't get in touch with her, so he didn't have the chance to do anything. However, the prison head also said that Liangzi looks even more dangerous. He was afraid that the man would escape when he was sent to be beheaded, so he couldn't wait to do it. Yundong was speechless. Very good, this reason was very good. By the way, Duan Qian knew that we were leaving and specially invited us to the residence tonight. He also invited Do Fukong. Alright, we'll go in a while. I have something to tell Duan Wan. The two of them changed their clothes and brought Shao Wan and Tong Shuitao to the Duan residence. When she entered the hall, she saw that Do Fukong was already there and talking to Duan Qian. Upon seeing them, Duan Qian immediately stood up and greeted them. You're here. Sit here. Duan Wan quickly came over and pulled Yundong aside to talk. Unexpectedly, the first thing she said was a heavy bomb. Yundong was shocked. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1305. The end of Second Master Duan's family. Duan when married Old Master Jing, Duan said. Gu Yundong's hand, which had just picked up the pastry, froze. After a while, she asked softly, really? Yes, my big brother did it. I feel especially relieved now. This was really giving Duan a taste of her own medicine. Duan Qian returned everything that Second Master Duan had done to Duan. Gu Yundong had been paying attention to Mrs. Sua these days. Later on, she was very concerned about Shao Qingyuan's background and did not pay attention to the Duan family. She did not expect Duan Qian to make such a big move in just a few days. Is Duan willing to marry him? Duan pursed her lips. Of course not, but what's the use of her not being willing? As long as second uncle and second aunt agree, she has no choice but to marry. It's her parents' order to matchmake, so how can Duan have the right to object? Besides, my brother directly cut off Duan's monthly allowance and removed the maids beside her. There's not even a servant in her courtyard to serve her. There's no one to cook, clean, or serve her. It's just 2 days. She couldn't take it anymore after 2 days and cried and agreed to marry Old Master Jing. Although Old Master Jing was old and had many concubines, and the Jing family was not as rich as the Duan family, at least she would have food, drinks, and people to serve her. Moreover, her parents had agreed because of Duan Qian's methods, and no one supported her. It was useless even if she resisted. After that, Duan married into the Jing residence. But Gu Yundong did not need to think to know that Duan Qian would definitely focus on suppressing the Jing residents in the coming days. Back then, Old Master Jing had also participated in the incident that destroyed Duan's innocence. How could Duan Qian let him off? What about Second Master Duan and his wife? My brother sent them back to the hometown. The Duan family's hometown was in the countryside and was very remote. There was naturally no one to serve Second Master Duan and his wife. From now on, they would have to earn money and spend whatever they earned to eat and drink. The two of them were used to living a comfortable life. In the future, they would have to do everything themselves. One could imagine how bitter their lives would be. Especially in front of Mrs. Sua, the two of them had fallen out and fought on the spot. That incident was like a thorn between the husband and wife, and it would stir up trouble from time to time. The two of them would probably have a lively life in the future. Where's second young Master Duan? Duan sighed. Second young Master Duan was still young and did not know about these things from the beginning to the end. After knowing what his parents and sister had done, he was greatly shocked and locked himself up in the house for a few days. When he came out, he asked to go to the countryside with his parents. However, Second Master Duan and his wife did not agree. The two of them still doted on their only son. They begged Duan Qian to let Second Master Duan off and let him continue to stay in the Duan family and study. Duan Qian actually had a good relationship with his cousin. The other party was only 12 or 13 years old and did not have any bad intentions. He was just a little playful and did not care about many things in the family. Therefore, Duan Qian agreed to let his cousin stay in the prefectural city. However, he had set up another courtyard for him to stay in so that he could study in peace. If the cousin became capable in the future and wanted to bring his parents back, Duan Qian would not object. Gu Yundong did not comment on Duan Qian's way of handling the matter. She believed that after this incident, Duan Qian would definitely be more cautious. Gu Yundong avoided this topic and was about to tell Duan about the shop. Unexpectedly, Duan suddenly blushed and whispered something into her ear. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1306, Duan is engaged. Gu Yundong choked on his own saliva. Ahem, what did you just say? Duan pushed her. Don't pretend you didn't hear me. I just feel very surprised. Gu Yundong blinked and silently turned his head to look at Dou Fukong, who was sitting not far away. This guy actually came to the Duan residence to propose marriage, and he even proposed to Duan Wan. Duan Wan saw her looking over so blatantly and hurriedly turned her face back. Don't look around. I don't want to look around either. I couldn't help it, right? Gu Yundong retracted her gaze and nudged her gently. She asked, what did he say? He just thinks I'm great. Gu Yundong was speechless. Just like that. However, looking at Duan Wan's expression, it wasn't like she didn't have feelings for Dou Fukong. That's right. Dou Fukong was a handsome man. He was talented in both civil and military matters. He was also warm-hearted and loyal. Although he had married a wife before, that wife had passed away in a year due to poor health. However, for a family like the Dou family, even if he were to remarry, there would still be many people who would crush his doorstep. If Dou Fukong wanted to marry Duan Wan, he would definitely be sincere. However, Gu Yundong was still a little worried. Have you understood the Dou family situation? I've heard that the Dou family is a military family. The Dou family's people have straightforward tempers and there aren't many twists and turns. They also don't have as many rules as those aristocratic families. I heard that young Master Dou's sister-in-law has even been to the battlefield before. Therefore, even though I'm a businesswoman, the Dou family doesn't mind. Gu Yundong did not say anything else. Duan Qian should have considered these questions. She teased Duan Wan, then I'll congratulate you here, but I won't have the chance to attend your wedding. Shall I give you a gift in advance? What gift? Duan Wan was very curious. She was looking forward to it. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. She said, I don't have one now. I didn't know that you had decided on it. Before I leave tomorrow, I'll get someone to hand it to you. You don't need to leave it to me. I'll send you to the dock tomorrow, Duan Wan said. Then she suddenly lowered her head and said disappointedly, I can't bear to see you go. Gu Yundong found it funny. She recalled their hostile gazes when they first met. Now, it was rare for them to sit here and talk. She changed her mind and told her about the shop. Duan Wan had to prepare for her wedding and could not find time in a short period of time. However, Gu Yundong did not intend to let her open the shop now. After dinner, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan returned to the provision store. They were now living in the backyard of the provision store. Knowing that they were leaving, Grandpa Yu and the rest could not bear to leave. At this moment, they began to busy themselves in the kitchen to prepare the food they needed to bring along on the way. Gu Yundong did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, this was Grandpa Yu and the rest's kind intentions. She could not bear to let them down. The next morning, Grandpa Yu and Uncle Yu personally sent Gu Yundong and the rest to the pier. Just as they were saying goodbye, Duan Qian and the other two came over. Gu Yundong held a long box in her hand and stuffed it into Duan Wan's arms. This is your wedding gift. Keep it well and look at it when you get back. Okay. Duan Wan couldn't help but tear up. She didn't like this kind of parting scene. It wasn't easy for her to have such a close friend, but she didn't expect that her friend would leave after spending a few days with her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1307, Gu Yundong's Gift. Gu Yundong patted her shoulder. I'll visit you when I return from the capital. You have to receive us well then. Definitely. Gu Yundong then looked at Duan Qian and Dou Fukong. The two of them had finished talking to Shao Qingyuan. In the end, she only said, take care. Have a safe trip. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan nodded at them and turned to walk towards the ship. Their carriage could not be transported over together. Although this passenger ship was big, the carriage took up too much space. Such a passenger ship would not allow guests to bring it over, so the carriage could only stay in Wanqing Prefecture for the time being. They had to let the Yu family take care of it. Therefore, they could only move the things on the carriage to the cabin of the passenger ship one by one. When Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan talked to and Duan Wan and boarded the ship, Eugene and Shaowen had already helped carry everything up. At this moment, Eugene jumped off the boat and said to Gu Yundong, "Sister Gu, brother-in-law, the things have been placed. My grandfather's pancakes are in the rattan basket at the outermost corner. Don't forget to eat them later." "Of course, thank you." "You're welcome." Eugene stood beside his father and grandfather and waved at Gu Yundong and the others. Gu Yundong heaved a sigh of relief before turning around and entering the cabin with Shao Qingyuan. The cabins here were not big. There were many rooms. The cabin that Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan were staying in was not bad. It was on the upper floor. Although it was small, it was clean. There were cabinets and windows in the room. Occasionally, sunlight would enter. There were 2 more floors under the cabin they were in. These 2 floors had no windows and the rooms were not big. Moreover, the bottom floor was almost filled with large bunks. It was a little messy and damp. Gu Yundong opened the windows and saw Uncle Yu, Duan Wan, and the others still standing at the pier, as if they would not leave until the boat left. Duan Wan could not help but look at the long box in her hand. She quietly ran to the back of the carriage and opened the box. Then, she saw a scroll. Duan Wan was stunned. Xilan, who was beside her, was also curious. She took the box from Duan Wan's hand and asked, Mrs. Shao gave you a scroll. Could it be some famous painting? She thought it would be jewelry or something. Duan Wan suddenly thought of the portraits of Mrs. Sua and the others drawn by Gu Yundong. Her eyes lit up and she eagerly opened the scroll. Wow! Xilan widened her eyes and exclaimed, "It's Miss and her future husband." Duan Wan also held her breath as she looked at the characters on the scroll. There were 2 people on it, a man and a woman in a red wedding dress with a happy smile on their faces. The man was Dou Fukang, and the woman was her. The portrait was very vivid, as if it was copied from their faces. The 2 of them were next to each other, and they actually looked like husband and wife. This time, Gu Yundong had colored the portrait, so it looked even more lifelike. That's right. You can hang this painting in your room after we get married in the future. A familiar voice suddenly came from behind. Duan Wan suddenly came back to her senses and saw Dou Fukang standing behind her. Her face immediately turned red. She hurriedly put away the portrait, rolled it up, and stuffed it into the box. Without looking up, she said, This was given to me by Yundong. Of course, I'll decide where to hang it." With that, she lowered her head and walked back to the dock. "I'll go thank Yundong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1308, Where did Tong Shuitao go? After saying that, Duan Wan quickly ran away. Dou Fukang, who was behind, smiled. "I clearly heard her say that it was a wedding gift for the 2 of us." Then, he shook his head with a smile and followed her. When she reached the dock, she saw Duan Wan waving at Gu Yundong and shouting, "Yundong, thank you." Duan Wan's voice could not be heard because of the noise at the dock and the sound of the waves. Gu Yundong could only see the corners of her mouth moving. She seemed to have heard her name, so she raised her hand and waved. Gu Yundong only retracted her head from the window when she heard the whistle. She frowned and looked at Shao Qingyuan and Shao Wen, who were tidying up. "Shuitao isn't back yet." Shao Wen stopped what he was doing. Seeing that it was getting late, he also became anxious. That's right. She said that she would definitely come back before the ship sailed, but I didn't see her even when the ship was about to sail. Did she say where she was going? Shao Qingyuan asked. Gu Yundong shook her head. She said that she was going out early in the morning. I thought that she might have some private matters to attend to, so I didn't ask further. I only told her to hurry back and not miss the boat. As they spoke, Gu Yundong felt the boat shake slightly. The boat had already begun to move. Gu Yundong suddenly stood up and hurried out of the cabin. As soon as she opened the door, she heard a familiar voice from afar. Wait for me. Wait for me. Don't start the boat yet. I haven't come up yet. The corner of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. She saw Tong Shuitao rush past the 3U family members and Duan like a gust of wind. She quickly ran towards the bow of the ship. The crew member who was tightening the rope was shocked and quickly stopped her. Stop, stop. Don't be rash. You'll fall if you jump over directly. At this moment, the bow had already left the shore and the pedal had been removed. There was a long distance between them. However, Tong Shuitao did not seem to hear it. With a sudden help, she jumped heavily and flew onto the deck. The crew member closed his eyes and did not dare to look any longer. The rope in his hand fell to the deck with a thud. Fortunately, Shao Qingyuan was quick-witted. He dragged the sack beside him and threw it over. Tong Shuitao fell onto the sack, so her face was not disfigured. Ouch! She cried out in pain. After lying there for a while, she slowly raised her head and happened to see Gu Yundong and the other two in front of her. She immediately grinned at them. However, halfway through her grinning, the captain came over angrily and said to her, "What's wrong with you? Do you know how dangerous it is to jump forward like this? If you don't jump onto the boat and fall into the river, you'll lose your innocence as a girl." Tong Shuitao shrunk her neck. She knew that the other party had good intentions and hurriedly got up. She said guiltily, "I won't do it again." The captain wanted to say something else, but the crew member tugged at his sleeve and pointed at Gu Yundong and the other two standing not far away, reminding him that this maidservant had a master. Only then did the captain shut his mouth. He exhaled and turned to leave. Gu Yundong pointed at Tong Shuitao. "Look at how capable you are. Aren't you afraid of falling? Come in with me." Tong Shuitao laughed dryly and hurriedly followed Gu Yundong in. Shao Wen, who was the last to enter, closed the cabin door. Gu Yundong asked, "Where did you go? Why did you come back so late? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1309, Shui Rong's reminder. Tong Shuitao walked to Gu Yundong's side obsequiously and said in embarrassment, "I paid tributes to someone." Gu Yundong was stunned. "Tributes?" "Yes, Shui Rong came to look for me before I came. He knew that we were going to pass by Wanqing Prefecture, so he asked me to visit his sister and tell her that he's doing well. He'll come and visit her again if he has the chance in the future." Gu Yundong suddenly remembered that she had bought Shui Rong from the broker in Wanqing Prefecture. Previously, he was a servant in the Qian residence. His sister was killed by the eldest young master of the Qian residence. "You should have told me earlier. I could have gone to take a look." Gu Yundong rubbed her temples. Tong Shuitao scratched her head. "I wanted to tell Miss previously, but Shui Rong told me not to say anything. He said that if Miss knew, she would definitely go and take a look. However, you are Miss, and Shui Rong is a servant. He can't afford such good fortune." Gu Yundong was speechless. Tong Shuitao admitted her mistake. "I didn't notice. I exchanged a few more words with Sister Shui Rong and told her that Shui Rong is doing well in the Gu family. Now, he has learned a lot of knowledge from Old Master. Now, he speaks like a decent man. I couldn't hold back my words, so I came late. Alright, just be careful next time. Also, if you encounter such a situation, don't jump up without a care. Yes, miss. I won't do it again. Only then did Gu Yundong stop blaming her. The few of them unpacked their things for a while. They rented 3 rooms. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan's rooms were in the middle, Tong Shuitao's on the left, and Shao Wen's on the right. Tong Shuitao and her husband packed up their things and moved some pots and pans to their rooms. In an instant, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan room became open and bright. Gu Yundong took out a clean blanket from the box and laid it on the bed. Only then did she sit comfortably by the window and look at the scenery. Unexpectedly, as soon as she opened the window, she saw Tong Shuitao waving at her from the other side. Miss, this is my first time taking a boat. Gu Yundong had been on a boat before, but this was also her first time in this world. It had to be said that this boat was actually sailing quite quickly. The water was very clear, but the wind was a little strong. Shao Qingyuan brought a cloak over and covered half of her head with the hat. Don't catch a cold. There will be a lot of days on the ship in the future. There's no hurry. I've asked around. When we pass by Heading Prefecture, there will be osmanthus trees planted on both sides of the shore. This is the time when the osmanthus flowers bloom. There's fragrance all the way. There are also osmanthus flowers floating on the river. It looks like a paradise. Why had she not heard of this? Gu Yundong's interest was piqued. Just imagining that scene made her look forward to it. Indeed, this was the honeymoon trip she had imagined. After staring at the river for a while, Gu Yundong closed half of the window and rested for a while in the cabin. In the afternoon, they ate the food given by Uncle Yu. Gu Yundong smeared the hot sauce on the food. It tasted extremely good. It was just that Uncle Yu had given them a little too many pancakes. They had to finish the pancakes before they could eat anything else. At night, Tong Shuitao borrowed the kitchen on the boat to make some porridge and continued to eat the pancakes before sleeping. Gu Yundong had thought that everything would go smoothly, but unexpectedly, when she woke up the next day, she realized that Tong Shuitao was actually seasick. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 13:10, Im really trash. Gu Yundong looked at Tong Shuitao, who was lying on the bed listlessly. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She was clearly quite happy and excited yesterday. She said that it was her first time taking a boat and that she had even walked through all the public places on the boat in the afternoon. Unexpectedly, after only one night, she could not get up. Shao Qingyuan gave her a seasickness pill. Only then did she feel much better, but she only felt a little better. It was impossible for her to do anything. Tong Shuitao was crying. Miss, I've let you down. Originally, I should be the one taking care of you when you bring me to the capital. Now, I can't do anything. You have to do everything yourself. I'm really useless, really useless. Alright, alright. This is not something you can control. Gu Yundong saw that she wanted to kill herself to apologize and quickly stopped her. Rest first. Don't let your imagination run wild. It will get better. Tong Shuitao lay on the bed, still feeling terrible. Before she left, she had promised Master and Madam that she would take good care of Mississippi. She was clearly stronger than a man. How could she get seasick when she was so healthy? This was too unreasonable. Tong Shuitao was still indignant and asked Shao Qingyuan for a few more seasickness pills. However, how could she take too much medicine? Shao Qingyuan only gave her enough dosage for a day and was unwilling to give her too much. After a day like this, Tong Shuitao's symptoms did not lessen. Instead, It made the young miss and her husband feel uneasy. Therefore, she could only give up and lie on the bed. After finishing the pancakes given by Uncle Yu, Yundong began to cook. Originally, these things were done by Tong Shuitao. Now that she couldn't get up and Qingyuan only knew how to cook porridge, the taste of Shao Wen's food could only be considered passable. Yundong did not want to suffer. Coincidentally, she had nothing to do on the ship all day, so she simply cooked by herself. There were 3 kitchens on the ship. The bigger ones were used by the crew to cook, and the ship actually provided food. However, the taste of the food cooked in a pot could be imagined. In addition, there were limited ingredients on the ship, so those who were qualified would cook themselves. The other 2 small kitchens were prepared for these people. However, the small's kitchens were really small. Moreover, everybody could only use charcoal to start the fire. The stove also used charcoal. Yundong had bought 2 large bags of charcoal before she boarded the ship. It should be enough to start a fire and cook. If it was not enough, she could only buy more on the way. The conditions on the ship were limited, but this was already not bad. Yundong had prepared a lot of fresh food. That day, she used a small pot to stir-fry 2 dishes on the stove. She was willing to add oil and seasonings. As soon as she started cooking, the fragrance spread. Someone smelled the fragrance and came over. He swallowed his saliva as he looked at her dishes. There was also someone from a good family who wanted to spend money to buy food from Yundong. Yundong cooked to treat herself well, and she did not have the energy to take care of others. Moreover, Qingyuan did not allow her to tire herself out. Actually, if Yundong did not want to eat good food, Qingyuan would have asked Shao Wen to cook or buy food from the ship. Hence, he turned down all requests to buy food from Yundong. After 2 comfortable days, Yundong finally saw the heading prefecture, which was filled with the fragrance of osmanthus flowers. The ship would be docked here for 4 hours. The ship would be resupplied, so everyone could get off the ship to move around. Of course, some people would get off the ship and some other guests would board. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 13:11. Sleepy Yundong also got off the ship and specially asked Tong Shuitao to get off and walk around. After Tong Shuitao's legs landed on the ground, she finally felt much more comfortable. Once she left, she could not bear to get on the boat. After Yundong bought something nearby, she stood at the dock and waited until the boat was about to sail before getting on. Yundong ignored her and got on the boat to put the things away. Qingyuan and Shao Wen walked further away from the dock to buy other things in the city. Therefore, just like Tong Shuitao, they returned when the ship was about to sail. Tong Shuitao's expression was a little strange when she returned. She first glanced at her, then at Qingyuan, and then at her. Then, she returned to her cabin. Yundong was speechless. What the hell? She turned around and returned to the cabin. She asked Qingyuan, what's wrong with her? Qingyuan shook his head. Who? Shuitao, that girl just now looked like she had something to say to you. Qingyuan didn't pay attention. I don't know. Maybe he wants a few more seasickness pills. Yundong thought about it and agreed. She had finally recovered after resting for 4 hours. Once she boarded the ship, she would be beaten back to her original state. She must be very indignant. However, there was no need to discuss this matter. She could not take medicine recklessly. She quickly retracted her attention and saw Qingyuan open a bag in his hand and take out the things inside. The osmanthus in the heading prefecture is famous, so there are many things made from osmanthus. This is the osmanthus cake bought from the most famous shop in the prefectural city. Try it. Also, this is osmanthus tea. Drink it when you want it. This hairpin is decorated with osmanthus flowers. It's very exquisite. I'll put it on for you. Shao Qingyuan laid out everything. Apart from these, there was also an osmanthus sachet, dried osmanthus honey, and a pile of other things. Yundong found it funny. Seeing him stick the hairpin in her hair, she could not help but reach out and hug his waist. She looked up at him. Why did you buy all of them for me? Didn't you buy anything for yourself? Moreover, they were all on the docks. Is there a reward? Yundong laughed and leaned forward to kiss him. Shao Qingyuan grabbed her by the waist and she could not move. The two of them only let go after a long time. Their faces were a little red. Yundong smelled the fragrance of osmanthus in the room and felt a little sleepy. The boat shook. Yundong came back to her senses and knew that the boat had sailed. She adjusted the hairpin in her hair and gathered all those things. Other than the osmanthus flowers, Shao Qingyuan also bought some vegetables and necessities, which were quite heavy. Fortunately, he still had the energy to go elsewhere to buy so many things. Yundong took out a bag of pork ribs and smiled. Just nice, these pork ribs will be used to stew radishes tonight. She had seen them near the docks before. There were ribs, but they didn't look very good, so she didn't buy them. She didn't expect him to bring a bag over. Shao Qingyuan hugged her. I'll help you. No need. The kitchen is very small. I can't even turn around if a man like you squeezes in. Yundong refused and left with the pork ribs. As soon as she went out, she realized that Tong Shuitao had also opened the cabin door. Yundong glanced at her. You're not seasick anymore. It would have been better if she hadn't said anything, but the moment she did, Tong Shuitao felt uncomfortable. Dizzy. Then why don't you lie in your room? Why did you come out? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 13:12. A woman follows young Master. Tong Shuitao swayed, but still came over and pulled Yundong into her cabin. Miss, I thought about it and felt that I should tell you. What are you talking about? You look so mysterious. Yundong sat on the edge of the bed and raised her eyebrows. Tong Shuitao lowered her voice. Miss, when I boarded the ship just now, I saw a woman following behind young Master. You don't know, but the way that woman looked at young Master, that affectionate and loyal expression, don't use random idioms. Speak properly. Oh. Tong Shuitao quickly stopped and continued, in short, it's obvious that that woman has ill intentions towards young Master. She insisted on following him. She's very shameless. Yundong asked, what about Brother Shao? As for young Master, I don't know if young Master heard her, but he walked very quickly and left that woman behind in an instant. Tong Shuitao was especially proud when she said this. Actually, I think with Miss around, young Master won't fancy other women. Yundong smiled. In that case, what's there to be conflicted about? Even though young Master has young Miss, he can't stop women from pestering him. Some people don't care about being young Master's concubine at all and insist on clinging to him. Therefore, young Miss, we have to guard him tightly. We have to keep an eye on young Master at all times to see if any women appear around him. For example, just now, after young Miss and young Master disembarked from the ship, you went to different places, and young Master was immediately targeted by women. Keeping an eye on Brother Shao at all times. Yundong felt suffocated at the thought of this. Seeing Tong Shuitao's serious expression, Yundong did not know what to say. Tong Shuitao said, Miss, don't take it lightly. In the past, I also felt that this kind of thing wouldn't happen to young Master. After all, when we were in Yongfu village, those girls all hid far away when they saw a young master. Young master had already become a 20-year-old wifeless man, so his market was not good. However, once he left Yongfu village, young master immediately became popular. We have to be wary. Gu Yundong was speechless. She patted Tong Shuitao's shoulder. I think what you said makes sense, but I can't stand keeping an eye on someone all the time, so forget it. I know better than you what kind of person your master is. Even if he really likes other women one day, it's not like I can't live alone. Are you afraid that I won't be able to support you? Of course not. Alright, don't let your imagination run wild. Otherwise, you'll feel even more dizzy. Well, stew pork ribs with radishes tonight. Thinking of Miss Culinary skills, Tong Shuitao couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Although she was seasick, her appetite didn't seem to have decreased. It was also a very magical thing. Gu Yundong carried the pork ribs out, but when she thought of what Tong Shuitao had said, she returned to her cabin to look for Shao Qingyuan. However, when she went over, she realized that the door of the cabin was locked. He should have gone out. Gu Yundong did not go in again. She carried the pork ribs to the small kitchen. When she entered, she realized that there was already someone in the small kitchen, and it was a girl. The girl was bending over and fanning the stove. When she saw her enter, she looked up at her and nodded expressionlessly. Then, she continued fanning the fire. Gu Yundong smelled medicine. It should be a medicine jar. She nodded and began to do her own thing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 13:13, Dr. Cui. Gu Yundong soaked the ribs in clean water and took out the fish that had already been processed. There was no shortage of aquatic products on the ship. There were fish sold on the ship every day, so Gu Yundong made different fish to eat. Braised fish, steamed fish, pickled fish, sweet and sour fish, spicy boiled fish, fish head tofu soup, fried fish pieces, and so on. It had only been 2 days, and there were still many things on her menu that had not been tried. Today, with the pork rib soup, she wanted to make fried fish. Gu Yundong was thinking about the steps when she felt a gaze on her. She turned her head slightly and met the gaze of the girl who was brewing the medicine. The girl immediately retracted her gaze and went to open the medicine jar. Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows and continued with her work. However, after a while, the girl looked over again. Gu Yundong turned around and she looked away. This repeated several times until another girl came in from outside. Only then did the girl leave with the medicine jar. The girl who came in later was a maidservant of a madam on the ship. She was in charge of the madam's food and had become familiar with Gu Yundong over the past 2 days. The maid greeted Gu Yundong and got busy. After a while, she leaned over and whispered, "Mrs. Shao, do you know who the girl who went out just now was?" "I don't know." Gu Yundong's hands did not stop. She asked casually, "Do you know her?" "No." The maidservant shook her head. Gu Yundong, unexpectedly, the maidservant quickly said, "She boarded the ship from Heading Manor today." The moment she came up, she saw many people getting seasick. They felt terrible and vomited at the side. She said that she was a doctor and borrowed the kitchen from the crew to start brewing medicine. Then, she gave it to those who got seasick. This is the 3rd jar she brewed. Gu Yundong was surprised. "Doctor." She thought of the girl's expressionless face just now. With such a cold expression, she really did not look like a doctor. The maidservant nodded. "My madam said that this girl is a good person. She provided the medicine for free and didn't require money." "Mrs. Shao, isn't your maidservant seasick? Why don't you ask her for it too?" Gu Yundong asked, "Are those people feeling better after taking the seasickness medicine?" A little better, but this boat has been sailing all this time. Even after taking the medicine, they still don't look very energetic. But at least, they're not vomiting anymore. It's not that uncomfortable. Gu Yundong nodded. Shuitao had also taken Brother Shao's medicine. Not long after, the girl returned and continued to brew medicine. The maidservant did not speak to Gu Yundong again. The three people in the kitchen quietly went about their business. After cooking dinner, Gu Yundong placed the food in the food box and carried it out. However, when she left, Gu Yundong could clearly feel that the medicine lattice gaze was fixed on her back. Gu Yundong frowned. She did not like this feeling. If there was anything, just say it. What did he mean by sizing her up from time to time? She frowned as she headed for the stateroom. Unexpectedly, as soon as she reached the deck, she saw Shao Qingyuan talking to a middle-aged man. Gu Yundong looked over and hesitated for a moment, but did not go over. She just carried the food box into the cabin first. When she came out to look for Shao Qingyuan again, she saw a person standing beside the middle-aged man and Shao Qingyuan. Gu Yundong narrowed her eyes. Coincidentally, that person also turned to look at her. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible.